Chapter 37. Seeing the black-clothed man chasing after him, Xiaochen felt very depressed. Within a week he had been chased by a martial grandmaster twice. This was too tragic. However, this time he did not exhaust much essence. If he wanted to shake off his pursuers, it would be easy. All he had to do was to continuously use the lightning evasion. However, he could not do this now. If he disappeared in an instant, he was afraid that the black-clothed man would turn back to find trouble with Xiaoyulan. That would not be worth it. Thus, he could only run and stop, continuously leading the black-clothed man into the inner regions of Seven-Horn Mountain. Just as Xiaochen was about to use the lightning evasion again, the sounds of fighting came from behind him. A bad feeling arose in his heart. He released his spiritual sense and immediately saw cousin Yulan fighting with the black-clothed man. After so much effort and planning, he did not expect cousin Yulan to still follow him. Xiaochen smiled bitterly in his heart. This time there is no way to avoid it. Since it is like this, then I will just have to fight. A resolute look appeared in Xiaochen's eyes. He quickly turned around and rushed over. Is a martial grandmaster really undefeatable? I hope nothing happens to cousin Yulan. Thinking of this, when Xiaochen rushed over, he discovered a trace of blood at the corner of Xiaoyulan's mouth. Her complexion was pale as she held her sword and stood in her original spot. The black-clothed man revealed an impatient expression. After he repelled Xiaoyulan once again, he wanted to turn around and leave. His heart was tied to the spirit blood jade, and he was not in the mood to fight with Xiaoyulan. Xiaoyulan wiped off the blood at the corner of her mouth. She held the broken moon sword and looked at the black-clothed man with a resolute gaze. She did her best to send out a red sword light at the black-clothed man. The black-clothed man waved his hand and the huge man-eating flower appeared once again. It opened its mouth and swallowed the red sword light. This person's martial spirit was Xiaoyulan's nemesis. You are seeking death. Don't blame me. The black-clothed man snorted coldly and quickly moved forward. He had already lost his patience with Xiaoyulan and wanted to kill her. Boom. A bolt of lightning flashed by, and Xiaochen's figure suddenly appeared in front of Xiaoyulan. That black-clothed man was startled by the sudden appearance of Xiaochen and retreated a few steps back. Cousin Xiaochen, why are you here? A look of doubt appeared on Xiaoyulan's pale face. It was clear that Xiaochen, who appeared with the lightning, was beyond her comprehension. Xiaochen smiled bitterly and did not answer Xiaoyulan's question. Instead, he took out a qi-returning pill and handed it to her. I thought that cousin would not chase after me. Although this qi-returning pill cannot treat injuries, it can quickly recover your essence. It should be of some help. Xiaoyulan received the qi-returning pill from Xiaochen. The confusion on her face became even more apparent. How could cousin Xiaochen have such a strange martial technique? And where did this medicinal pill come from? Xiaochen could roughly guess what Xiaoyulan was thinking. However, this was not the time to explain. He said, after this, if I am still alive, I will explain to you. For now, let me borrow your breaking water sword. Without any hesitation, Xiaoyulan handed the sword to Xiaochen. Although she knew that Xiaochen was hiding something from her, she still trusted Xiaochen a lot. He was willing to be the bait for her and give up the chance to escape. Even if he had a secret to hide from her, it was because he had no other choice. Cousin Xiaochen, be careful, Xiaoyulan said worriedly when she saw Xiaochen pointing his sword at the black-clothed man. Xiaochen gently waved his hand and did not turn his head. He casually waved the breaking water sword a few times and a pure line of energy came out from the spirit weapon. Very quickly, it established a strange connection with the blue dragon martial spirit in his body. The breaking water sword was worthy of being an inferior grade profound rank spirit weapon. Xiaochen could clearly feel that the energy coming from the blue dragon martial spirit was much stronger than the lunar shadow saber. Seeing Xiaochen brandishing the spirit weapon, the black-clothed man felt that there was a different aura coming from Xiaochen's body. This aura carried layers of might, causing him to feel a faint pressure. Is this person really just an inferior grade martial disciple? A trace of doubt flashed in the black-clothed man's eyes, but it disappeared in an instant. The light in his eyes became sharp once again as he said coldly, I will still say the same thing. Little friend, hand over the spirit blood jade and I will leave this place immediately. You and the girl behind you have a bright future ahead of you, there is no need to die here. Xiaochen, who was holding the breaking water sword, had a calm expression on his face. He smiled and said, don't have such thoughts. I will not give you this spirit blood jade. Let's not talk about whether or not you will keep your word. This spirit blood jade was something that I risked my life to obtain. Furthermore, I even lost a spirit weapon. How can I casually hand this spirit blood jade over to you? The black-clothed man's face was covered with a cloth, so Xiaochen could not see his expression. He said in a deep voice, "As long as you are willing to hand it over, I can immediately compensate you with a profound ranked spirit weapon. It is not inferior to the one in your hand." Was this spirit blood jade really that useful? It was actually worth him using a profound ranked spirit weapon to exchange for it? Could it be that what they wanted to seal was not a rank 5 spirit beast? There were some doubts in his heart, but Xiaochen's expression did not change. He smiled indifferently. "Let me think about it. In a situation where you have the absolute advantage, why are you still willing to give me such generous conditions to exchange with me? You are afraid of fighting with us and exhausting too much essence. If you are discovered by the Shao clan's guards, it would be difficult for you to escape, right?" When the black-clothed man heard Xiaochen's intentions, a gleam appeared in his eyes. He said sternly, "Since you refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit, then don't blame me." With a tsung sound, the black-clothed man took out a 2-meter-long sword from an unknown place. This sword could be the profound ranked spirit weapon that he was prepared to give to Xiaochen as compensation. Xiaochen had never seen such a long sword before. For a moment he was somewhat astonished. There was a flash of sword light, and the black-clothed man had already closed in. The sword, which should have been ethereal and agile, was used by the black-clothed man in an incomparably tyrannical manner. It was like a saber chopping, and chopping. Together with the 2-meter-long sword, its might was unfathomable. Xiaochen was not proficient with weapons, much less sword techniques. He could only rely on the strong strength of the blue dragon martial spirit and the electric glow on the sword to barely contend with the black-clothed man. Immediately he was surrounded by perils. Bang! The two of them clashed again. A huge rebound came from the sword, causing Xiaochen's body to be knocked back a few meters. The essence in his body was fluctuating. The inner strength in the sword was wreaking havoc in his body. He had probably suffered significant internal injuries. The black-clothed man was not in a good state either. Every time the strong strength of the blue dragon martial spirit and the strange electric glow on the sword clashed, he would feel his palms go numb. If it were not for the difference in their cultivation realms, the sword in his hand would have been knocked away long ago. Doing his best to suppress the injuries in his body, Xiaochen flicked his finger. A purple flame spun a few rounds on his fingertip before shooting at the black-clothed man with a "so" sound. The black-clothed man brandished his sword light. When the sword met the flame, there was a loud explosion. After the explosion, the purple flame actually did not extinguish. It soared to the body of the sword and started burning from top to bottom. Soon it reached the sword hilt. A trace of astonishment flashed in the black-clothed man's eyes. Then, before the purple flame could reach the sword hilt, he decisively stabbed the sword into the ground. "Now is the time, divine thunder break." Xiaochen quickly switched the breaking moon sword to his left hand. The purple thunder divine incantation circulated quickly in his body, and pure lightning attributed energy surged out of his right hand. It formed a resplendent electric light in the air, shooting at the black-clothed man. Although this divine thunder break was only an inferior grade yellow ranked martial technique, its speed was much faster than a regular profound ranked martial technique. When the black-clothed man lowered his sword, he should not have had the opportunity to dodge. Puchi! The resplendent electric light struck the black-clothed man's body. In an instant, the black-clothed man's body lit up. The crackling electric light flickered unceasingly, as though he was a man made of electricity. Xiaochen was astonished. He did not know what martial technique this black-clothed man used, but he actually turned his essence into a veil, covering his entire body with it, blocking out the might of the divine thunder break. "Kill!" The black-clothed man shouted loudly. He raised the sword that was still burning and his body shot out explosively. Before Xiaochen could react, a fiery light had already appeared in front of him. Heavenly Lightning Shield. The sword that was enveloped by the purple thunder true fire struck the heavenly lightning shield violently. The huge force passed through the heavenly lightning shield and weakened significantly. Xiaochen, who was within the shield, still vomited a mouthful of blood. Could be seen how powerful this sword was. This old man has never been forced into such a state by an inferior grade martial disciple in my entire life. Xiaochen, you are the first. The black-clothed man seemed to have gone berserk. He raised the flaming sword and continuously struck the heavenly lightning shield. Bang, 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 bang. Every time the large sword struck, the qi and blood in Xiaochen's body surged even more violently. The color of his face slowly disappeared, becoming incomparably pale. Xiaoyulan, who had already recovered some of her qi, saw that Xiao was in a dangerous situation. She ignored her own injuries and rushed forward, sending a palm strike at the black-clothed man. However, the black-clothed man's entire body was covered in a veil made of essence. It could even block the divine thunder break. Xuanhuan's palm strike was useless against it. The black-clothed man turned around and sent Xuanhuan flying with his sword. "Bastard!" Xiao cried out in pain. He tossed the heavenly lightning shield aside and executed the lightning evasion to catch Xuanhuan, who was sent flying. Cousin Xiao, my earlier palm strike had already infused the poison of poinsettia into his body. As long as I leave a wound on his body, it would be enough to claim his life, Xuanhuan said weakly as she collapsed in Xiao embrace. The black-clothed man laughed loudly. "How naive. Did you think that by infusing the poison of poinsettia into my body, you would be able to kill me? Don't forget what my martial spirit is. There is no poison in this world that can kill me." Hearing these words, Xuanhuan's pale face became even more desperate. Xiao grasped his sword tightly, his heart trembling non-stop. If I were stronger, this situation would not have happened. To think that a girl would risk her life for me and suffer such injuries. Today, no matter who from your Xiao clan comes, the two of you will die. Refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. This is your fate, the black-clothed man said insolently. Is that so? A cold snort suddenly came from the forest. Xiao released his spiritual sense, but he did not discover the figure of this person. The true body of this person was actually 800 meters away. Chapter 38. Oh, who is playing tricks on me? Come out quickly. The sudden voice made the black-clothed man extremely nervous. He did his best to release his perception to search for the person. Even Xiao spiritual sense was unable to detect him. Naturally, his perception would not be able to detect him. Is that all you have? That strange voice rang in the black-clothed man's ears again. However, he still could not detect anyone. Here it comes, Xiao muttered to himself. He could see a gray figure in his spiritual sense. He was flying over at a very fast speed. Xiao spiritual sense was unable to see his appearance clearly. Xiao carried Xuanhuan and retreated a few steps. He did not know if this person was friend or foe. Xiao did not dare to lower his guard. Pooh! Before the person arrived, a blue flying dagger was already flying over. The black-clothed man did his best to dodge, but a wound was still inflicted on his right arm. Fresh blood flowed out. The might of this flying dagger was really great. It could even easily break through the black-clothed man's essence cloak. Xiao was secretly shocked. The black-clothed man cried out in pain. He glared at the direction the flying dagger came from. A huge man-eating flower appeared out of nowhere and flew towards that person. You dare to release such a weak martial spirit. You are truly reckless. As soon as he finished speaking, the mysterious man finally revealed himself and charged straight at the man-eating flower. He didn't seem to make any movements, but when the man-eating flower was 2 meters away from him, it suddenly exploded in the air and turned into dust. This was different from Xiao earlier explosion. This time, the man-eating flower really turned into dust and disappeared into the air. It did not turn into spots of light and return to the black-clothed man's body. The instant the man-eating flower disappeared, the black-clothed man immediately vomited a mouthful of blood. His face was filled with fear as he said, You actually destroyed my martial spirit. Your martial spirit has not even reached the immortal realm, yet you dare to show off in front of the enemy. You deserve to be destroyed, the mysterious man said coldly. The black-clothed man weakly stood where he was and asked, You are from the Xiao clan? The mysterious man said indifferently, I guess so. Impossible, how could the Xiao clan have a martial saint expert? The black-clothed man said in disbelief. Not only the black-clothed man, even Xiao and Xuanhuan could not believe it. The two of them were direct descendants of the Xiao clan, yet they had never heard of the Xiao clan having a martial saint expert. A martial saint expert could be said to have the strongest combat strength in Mo City. Even in the entire Great Qing nation, a martial saint expert would have a place for themselves in any city. If a martial saint was willing to stay in the Xiao clan, there was only one possibility. This person must have broken through the bottleneck of a martial grandmaster when he was older. There was no way for him to increase his cultivation any further, so he could only find a small place to retire. But even so, the two of them were still incomparably shocked in their hearts. That was because he had concealed his strength too deeply. Senior, are you really a member of my Xiao clan? Xiao asked cautiously. The mysterious man did not reply. He took out a medallion from his sleeves and flew it towards Xiao. Xiao quickly caught it and took a look. On the black medallion, there were the words Shao Clan Special Grade Consecrator on one side and Lu Fenglin on the other. The Shao clan did indeed have a mysterious special grade consecrator. However, this person rarely showed himself. Outsiders had no way of knowing what he looked like, not to mention his cultivation realm. Seeing this medallion, this person's identity could be verified. Xiaoqin cupped his hands and said, "Many thanks for senior's help." Lu Fenglin waved his hands and said with a calm expression, "I took someone's money to get rid of a calamity. There is no need to thank me. Also, you can hand over that spirit blood jade to me. The first elder and the third elder will be here soon. You can leave the mountain now," Lu Fenglin muttered to himself for a while before saying. Xiaoqin frowned slightly. He felt a little angry in his heart. This person knew about the spirit blood jade. That meant that he had already arrived here long ago. However, he had not made a move yet. The moment he arrived, he wanted the spirit blood jade. Xiaoqin was not in a good mood. Not to mention the fact that this person's identity had not been verified yet. Even if he was just a consecrator of the Shao clan. This kind of consecrator was not restricted by the Shao clan. They had a lot of freedom and could leave the Shao clan at any time. How could Xiaoqin casually hand over the spirit blood jade to such a person? The most important thing was that this spirit blood jade was something that Xiaoqin had painstakingly obtained after risking his life. To him, it was already his and had nothing to do with the Shao clan. He would not casually hand it over to anyone. "I'm sorry, I really can't find a reason to hand this spirit blood jade to you," Xiaoqin said calmly as he looked at Lu Fenglin. Lu Fenglin's expression changed. It was obvious that he did not expect Xiaoqin to reject his request. He stared at Xiaoqin and the aura of a martial saint suddenly exploded forth. It pressed down on Xiaoqin, wanting to crush Xiaoqin with his aura. If it was a regular inferior grade martial disciple, they would definitely not be able to withstand the aura of a martial saint. The pressure that came from the depths of their hearts would cause them to unconsciously agree to this person's request. Unfortunately, Xiaoqin was not a regular martial disciple. The blue dragon martial spirit in his body was a holy beast that had existed since the ancient era. Its might and aura was not inferior to that of a martial god. Although Xiaoqin could not actively control this aura, the blue dragon martial spirit could automatically counterattack when it was suppressed. Furthermore, the stronger it was, the stronger it was. Thus, Xiaoqin faced the overflowing aura of a martial saint without any fear. When the two auras clashed in the air, Xiaoqin seemed to have the upper hand. "Hey!" The black-clothed man looked at Xiaoqin in astonishment. He did not expect that a mere inferior-grade martial disciple would actually be able to withstand his aura. He felt somewhat angry in his heart. Just as he wanted to increase his strength and make Xiaoqin submit completely, there was the sound of noisy footsteps coming from the forest behind him. The black-clothed man sensed for a moment and stopped his aura. Xiaoqin immediately felt relaxed. He looked behind the forest and discovered that it was the first elder and the third elder leading a large group of martial masters from the Shao clan. When Xiaoqiang saw the incomparably pale Xiaoyulan, he immediately flew over and sent in strands of essence. After he checked the injuries in Xiaoyulan's body, he heaved a sigh of relief. "Elder Lu, many thanks to you this time," Xiaoqiang said to Lu Fenglin with a respectful expression. Lu Fenglin nodded his head indifferently and did not reply. He looked at Xiaoqin with an indistinct gaze. The look in his eyes seemed to be playing with something, causing Xiaoqin to feel a sense of fear in his heart. "You'd better not provoke me. Otherwise, even if you are a martial saint, I will not let you have a good ending," Xiaoqin thought fiercely in his heart. With the arrival of the Shao clan's troops, there was no need for Xiaoqin and Xiaoyulan. The two of them could be considered to have been completely saved. However, when he saw the expressions of the first elder and the third elder, Xiaoqin understood that the true danger had only just begun. The group of black-clothed men had already been completely annihilated. However, they had all committed suicide by biting their tongues. After some investigation, it was confirmed that this group of people were the Tang clan's deathsworn. With such a strong force, they naturally did not enter Seven-Horn Mountain to play around. Everyone could feel the severity of the situation. The night sky was filled with stars and the full moon hung high in the sky. Within one of the Shao clan's encampments in Seven-Horn Mountain, Xiaoqin was in the barracks of the encampment, cultivating non-stop. Cultivation was about perseverance and diligence. Xiaoqin did not want to waste any time. Not long after the first elder arrived, he brought everyone back to the encampment. After making arrangements for the two of them, he went to discuss the matters related to this matter with the upper echelons of the Shao clan. Xiaoqin did not have much interest in these meetings. He also felt some fear towards Lu Fenglin. He felt that this person was not a kind person. After he returned to his room, he started to cultivate. The sound of light footsteps could be heard. Xiaoqin opened his eyes and stopped cultivating. Using his spiritual sense, he immediately found out the identity of the person who had arrived. He smiled to himself and got up to open the door. "Cousin Yulan, you are here," Xiaoqin smiled gently. He had already expected that Xiao Yulan would come looking for him, so he was not surprised. At this moment, Xiao Yulan had already changed her clothes. After resting during the day, her complexion was much better. When she saw Xiaoqin suddenly open the door, she was startled for a moment. Then she smiled and said, "Cousin Xiaoqin, how about going out for a walk with me?" Within the huge encampment, Xiao clan guards could be seen patrolling everywhere. The guards here were all martial masters. They could be said to be the elites of the Xiao clan. The two of them walked to a desolate area. The cold moonlight shone on Xiao Yulan's bright face, giving her a faint look of sadness. Xiaoqin accompanied her silently, not saying a word. "We are going to seal off the mountains tomorrow. Cousin Xiaoqin, what are your plans?" After a moment of silence, Xiao Yulan revealed a shocking piece of news. Sealing off the mountains. Ever since the Xiao clan took control of Seven-Horn Mountain, this had never happened before. Xiaoqin still did not understand. Wasn't it just sealing a rank 4 spirit beast and above? Was there really a need to make such a big fuss? Seeing Xiaoqin's doubtful expression, Xiao Yulan explained, "This matter has something to do with the promise of 10 years. As for what the connection is, I am not too sure. For every promise of 10 years, the Tang clan would always choose to give up. This time, entering the mountains before the promise of 10 years and causing such a commotion would inevitably raise suspicions." "Cousin, actually, I had the opportunity to leave during the day," Xiaoqin said slowly after thinking for a while. There were some things that needed to be explained. Xiao Yulan smiled gently. "I know. I guessed it after the incident. There is no need for you to explain it to me. Just like what you said to me before, everyone has their own secrets. I do not think it is a wise thing to pry into other people's secrets." Xiao Yulan paused for a while and looked at Xiaoqin with a resolute gaze. She continued, "All I know is that you are my cousin Xiaoqin, a cousin who was willing to give up his chance to escape for me. That is enough." Hearing these words, Xiaoqin felt incomparably grateful. If it was someone else who asked him about this, he could ignore it. However, if it was cousin Yulan, it would be hard to explain. "Actually, I have already guessed what kind of spirit beast the Tang clan wants to seal." After pausing for a while, Xiaoqin changed the topic, avoiding Xiao Yulan's resolute gaze. Chapter 39. For the Tang clan to pay such a high price, the spirit beast sealed was definitely not a rank 5 spirit beast. Actually, the highest ranked spirit beast in Seven-Horn Mountain was only rank 6, equivalent to a human martial king expert. Within Seven-Horn Mountain, there was only one type of rank 6 spirit beast, and that was the king of Seven-Horn Mountain, the six-tailed spirit fox. The spirit fox was a special kind of spirit beast. This kind of spirit beast could evolve through continuous cultivation. For example, the two-tailed spirit fox that Xiaoqin had encountered in the outer perimeter was formed after the spirit fox evolved. However, the conditions for the spirit fox to evolve were rather harsh. In the vast Seven-Horn Mountain, there were only 100 spirit beasts that had evolved to rank 5. As for the six-tailed spirit fox that had successfully evolved to rank 6, there was only one in the entire Seven-Horn Mountain. This six-tailed spirit fox was the Tang clan's target. However, what made Xiaoqin feel strange was that the six-tailed spirit fox was as strong as an inferior-grade martial king. How could the Tang clan be confident in dealing with it? Could it be that they were like the Xiao clan hiding a martial saint expert? If that was the case, it was not impossible. However, Xiaoqin felt that something was wrong. Xiao Yulan smiled gently, "You are not the only one who thought of this. My father and the third elder also thought of it. If they successfully sealed the six-tailed spirit fox, it would be equivalent to having another martial king expert. Furthermore, the lifespan of a six-tailed spirit fox is extremely long. It is sufficient to ensure that the Tang clan's position in Mo City will not be threatened for 100 years. Furthermore, their mission this time was related to the promise of 10 years that would take place in 3 months. It was no wonder that the first elder and the others had decided to seal the mountain in order to seal the spirit beast under the Xiao clan's nose. Boom, boom, boom. Just at this moment, the loud roars of spirit beasts suddenly came from within Seven-Horn Mountain. The roars were like thunder, and even the ground trembled slightly. An unending stream of rumbling footsteps could be heard coming from the front. This encampment was built at the junction between the inner and outer regions of Seven-Horn Mountain. The Great Elder and the others had chosen this location as their base of operations for the sake of convenience. At this moment, the angry roars of the spirit beasts could be heard one after another. It was deafening. It was as if an army of thousands of men and horses were about to trample over this place. What's going on? How can there be so many beast roars? Are the spirit beasts on a rampage? The order in the encampment suddenly became chaotic. The guards were shouting in panic and had completely lost their usual discipline. Xiaoqin immediately released his spiritual sense, which spread out in all directions like ripples. However, he did not find anything special within 800 meters. With a thought, Xiaoqin retrieved all of his soul consciousness and released it in a different way, shooting it out in a straight line like a laser beam. This was another method that Xiaoqin had inadvertently discovered. By shooting out his divine sense in a straight line, the probing distance would be doubled. The downside was that it was not comprehensive enough. If he wanted to explore a 360-degree scene, he would have to keep moving in a straight line, which would consume even more mental strength. In an instant, everything within 1,500 meters could be seen clearly. Xiaoqin was finally able to see the situation clearly. A large group of spirit beasts of all sorts were rushing down the mountain at high speed. There were rank 3 scarlet moon tigers, rank 4 demonic scorpions, sinister wind rats, and all sorts of spirit beasts. It was as if they had received some sort of order and were rushing down the mountain in a frenzy. In less than 5 minutes they would arrive here. What's going on? Everyone be quiet. The first elder came out from the great hall. When he saw the chaotic scene, he immediately shouted. The first elder was the first elder after all. When everyone saw that he was the one making an appearance, the chaotic scene finally calmed down. Not long after, a Shao clan disciple quickly ran in from outside. First elder, this is bad. The spirit beasts in the encampment seem to have all gone crazy. They are all rushing down the mountain and will arrive here soon. Xiao Chang's face was filled with shock. Spirit beasts going crazy? When had such a thing happened on Seven-Horn Mountain before? Elder Lu, what do you think? Lu Fenglin's old face did not change at all. He said indifferently, it is possible that they made their move in advance. As for why this group of spirit beasts went crazy, I am not sure. Xiao Chang muttered to himself for a while before saying to the third elder, Xiao Tian, bring all the disciples below Martial Master and descend the mountain immediately. Elder Lu and I will bring a few martial grandmasters to take a look and see what exactly is going on. Great Elder, have you considered the matter that I mentioned to you earlier? Lu Fenglin asked without any change in his expression. In this place only he could remain so calm. With his cultivation as a martial saint, even if all the spirit beasts in Seven-Horn Mountain came, he would still be able to escape unscathed. Spirit blood jade? I still have to ask Xiao Qin about this first, Xiao Chang replied after muttering to himself for a while. He looked at Xiao Yulan who was walking over and asked, have you seen Xiao Qin? He left. He said he had something to do and went down the mountain first. He told us not to bother with him. What? He left? Lu Fenglin cried out involuntarily. A trace of anger flashed in his eyes. Xiao Qin had left 3 minutes ago because his spiritual sense had discovered something interesting. He might know the reason for the spirit beast's rampage. In a forest within Seven-Horn Mountain, a group of people had anxious expressions as they spoke. Among them, a blue-clothed man was the most eye-catching. This person was the mysterious martial saint that Xiao Qin had met in the Thunder King's cave. The other group of people were indeed the disciples of Mo City's Tang clan. Tang Yuan was also there. However, at this moment, his complexion was pale and he was trembling with fear. He was hugging a young spirit beast and did not even dare to breathe loudly. Mr. Lung, what should we do now? The Tang clan's first elder, Tang Feng, asked anxiously. That group of spirit beasts had been chasing them relentlessly. If they could not think of a solution aside from the blue-clothed man, everyone else would die here. The blue-clothed man glanced at the young spirit beast in Tang Yuan's arms and said indifferently, Elder Tang, I have already helped you with the matter regarding the spirit beast. Although there was an accident during the process, the responsibility is no longer on this old man. Your Tang clan's agreement should still be in effect, right? Tang Feng's face twitched as he glared at Tang Yuan hatefully. When Tang Yuan, who was not far away, felt this gaze, he immediately raised his head in fright. For the sake of the six-tailed spirit fox in Seven-Horn Mountain, the Tang clan had been preparing for many years. Finally, the opportunity for the six-tailed spirit fox to give birth had arrived. After giving birth, the six-tailed spirit fox would be extremely weak. Its strength would drop to the martial saint realm. To the Tang clan this was a rare opportunity. Coincidentally, at this moment, the blue-clothed man found the Tang clan. Both parties immediately came to an agreement. The blue-clothed man would deal with the six-tailed spirit fox, and the Tang clan would seal the spirit blood jade that they had obtained from the auction in the Great Tang Nation, who knew that after everything was prepared, as long as Tang Yuan and the others brought the spirit blood jade, they could take action immediately. However, Tang Yuan and the others had lost the spirit blood jade. This caused Tang Feng to fly into a rage out of humiliation. After he scolded Tang Yuan, he prepared to stake it all on one throw. He sent people from the Tang clan to bring the spirit blood jade back. When the appointed time arrived, the death-sworn still did not return. Tang Feng guessed that the matter had been exposed and could not wait any longer. After the blue-clothed man lured the six-tailed spirit fox away, he sent people to steal the young it gave birth to. Feeling that its young had been stolen, the six-tailed spirit fox actually went berserk. Under its might, all the spirit beasts in Seven-Horn Mountain went berserk and chased after the Tang clan. Along the way, the Tang clan disciples either died or were injured. The originally strong group was now left with only a few dozen people. The only hope they had now was this blue-clothed man. Recollecting his thoughts, Tang Feng said anxiously, "Senior Leng, naturally, you did not go back on the agreement. Our Tang clan will definitely keep our promise. However, how do we leave the mountain now?" The blue-clothed man smiled faintly. "There is a rank 4 spirit beast, 3 rank 5 spirit beasts, and an uncountable number of rank 3 spirit beasts rushing over here." Hearing this, the already anxious faces of the Tang clan members became even more terrified. Along the way they had resisted with all their might. However, when surrounded by a large group of spirit beasts, it was futile. "Senior Leng, what do you mean by this?" Tang Feng asked, trembling. The blue-clothed man smiled casually. "Elder Tang, there is no need to be nervous. Since I followed you here, I will guarantee that you will leave this place alive. Think about it, who would be more anxious than us now that such a situation has occurred?" Tang Feng thought for a moment and his eyes lit up. He said joyfully, "Are you saying that the Shao clan?" "That's right. With such a big situation happening, the Shao clan will definitely send people to investigate. However, the spirit beasts are already in a frenzy. They will not be reasonable and will only kill anyone they see. With them helping us block for a while, escaping should not be a problem. Right now, the biggest problem is the little spirit fox that young Master Tang is carrying. The six-tailed spirit fox can vaguely sense the position of the spirit fox. As long as we bring the spirit fox along, it will be very difficult to escape from the group of spirit beasts behind us." Looking at the little spirit fox with its eyes closed in his embrace, Tang Feng felt a headache. This little thing was like a death sentence. When he heard the blue-clothed man's words, he seemed to feel relieved. He said, "Senior Leng, are you saying that we should give up on this little spirit fox? You cannot let it go." Before the blue-clothed man could say anything, Tang Feng shouted. Originally, after sealing the six-tailed spirit fox, they would be able to form a strong fighting force. Now they could only obtain the infant of the six-tailed spirit fox. Who knew how long it would take for it to form a strong fighting force? However, now that so many people had died and they had spent so much effort, if they let the little spirit fox go, they would not be able to obtain any benefits. The blue-clothed man smiled gently. "I do not intend to give up on this little spirit fox. What I mean is that as long as someone escapes with the little spirit fox with the Shao clan blocking for us, the rest of us will definitely be able to escape. There is not much time left, Elder Tang, please make a decision quickly." Tang Feng quickly thought about it and quickly agreed with the blue-clothed man's point of view. However, who should he send to lure it away was a problem. First of all, the blue-clothed man had to be eliminated. Not to mention whether he would agree or not, even if he agreed, Tang Feng would not be at ease leaving it to him. Otherwise, he could just leave and come up with a random excuse saying that he had lost it. No one would dare to do anything to him. Next, he had to eliminate himself as well. Luring the six-tailed spirit fox away sounded simple, but if he was not careful, he might lose his life here. So many people had died along the way, Tang Feng was already very frightened. He did not want anything to happen to himself. Thus, the only candidate left was Tang Yuan, who had just made a huge mistake. After making up his mind, Tang Feng immediately said, "Follow the first young master and bring the little spirit fox down the mountain. If Tang Yuan loses this little spirit fox, I believe I do not need to tell you how the clan head will punish you." Chapter 40. Although Tang Yuan was dissatisfied, he did not dare to go against the first elder's wishes. He had made a huge mistake in this mission, resulting in his current situation. He originally thought that this mission would be very easy. After he completed it, he would be able to leave a good impression on his father. At the same time, he would be able to befriend the second elder and the first elder, completely suppressing his second brother. Now it seemed like all his hopes were dashed. He could only hope to bring the little spirit fox back and see if he could make up for his mistake and reduce his punishment to the lowest. The blue-clothed man looked at the departing group with a strange expression. It was as though he already knew that Tang Feng would make such a decision. He withdrew his smile and said, "First Elder, follow me back." "Senior Lung Yu, are you right? Go back?" Tang Feng said in astonishment. The blue-clothed man said coldly, "That nine-tailed spirit fox is just a spent force. It will not have any combat strength left after a while. I do not wish to let the Shao clan people off so easily." Tang Feng's brain could not process what the blue-clothed man was trying to do. "Since that is the case, why did you ask Tang Yuan and the rest to leave?" The blue-clothed man smiled. "A group of martial masters would not be of much help even if they stayed. It would be troublesome if they were discovered by the Shao clan. It would be better to leave as soon as possible." Actually, the blue-clothed man did not intend to let the group of people leave alive. This group of people brought along their cubs and would soon be caught by the six-tailed spirit fox. At that time, there would be no chance of survival. This group of people only had one purpose: to lure the six-tailed spirit fox away. They would not let the berserk six-tailed spirit fox find the blue-clothed man. The berserk six-tailed spirit fox was already a martial king. The blue-clothed man did not want to clash with it. He only hoped that they could lure it away for as long as possible. Just at this moment, the roars of spirit beasts came from behind them. The blue-clothed man looked at the spirit beasts behind him. They were 5 rank 4 spirit beasts, purple arm apes. Earth Dragon Wave. The blue-clothed man snorted coldly. Suddenly, a ripple appeared on the ground. It spun slowly like a spiral, like a swimming snake. Boom. A huge earth dragon broke out of the ground. Its surging energy shattered all the rocks on the ground. It roared angrily and swung its tail violently at the 4 purple-armed apes. The 5 purple-armed apes couldn't dodge in time and were all hit. The power of the dragon's tail instantly sent them flying. Then the dragon's head charged forward, and the 4 purple-armed apes couldn't get up anymore. "Let's go." Looking at the dumbfounded Tang Feng, the man in blue said indifferently. The two of them walked away quietly, completely unaware that Xiao Chen's divine sense had already seen everything. By changing the way he used his spiritual sense, the range of his detection doubled. Xiao Chen inadvertently scanned this group of people. Withdrawing his spiritual sense, Xiao Chen was astonished in his heart. The strength of a martial saint was too horrifying. He defeated 5 rank 4 spirit beasts in an instant. After informing Xiao Yulan, Xiao Chen immediately left the encampment and chased after Tang Yuan and the others. Currently, the strongest person in this group was only a martial master. Furthermore, they were all injured. What Xiao Chen wanted to do now was to snatch the infant of the six-tailed spirit fox. The offspring of the six-tailed spirit fox were naturally rank 6 spirit beasts. When they grew up, they would not need to evolve to have 6 tails. There was a cultivation method for demonic beasts in the Compendium of Cultivation. It should be able to be used for spirit beasts as well. A spirit beast that was naturally rank 6, with the help of the Compendium of Cultivation, would definitely be of great help to Xiao Chen. This was the reason why Xiao Chen had to snatch the infant of the six-tailed spirit fox. Furthermore, he had the spirit blood jade. After he snatched it, he could instantly seal it and hide the aura of the infant, not fearing the revenge of the six-tailed spirit fox. After Xiao Chen left the encampment, he immediately used the gravity spell and slowly flew up. He did not dare to fly too high, as there were many flying spirit beasts in Seven-Horn Mountain. Because the gravity spell was too slow to execute, its usefulness in actual combat was greatly reduced. However, it was very useful for traveling. Xiao Chen locked his spiritual sense on Tang Yuan and the others as he slowly followed them. In his spiritual sense, Tang Yuan and the others were already entangled by a group of rank 4 spirit beasts. Xiao Chen also felt a strong aura in the distance, rushing over with all its might. It should be the six-tailed spirit fox that had already gone berserk. After traveling for a few more minutes, the figures of Tang Yuan and the others finally appeared before Xiao Chen's eyes. Xiao Chen, who was in the air, quietly stopped on a tree branch, observing the group of people below. Of the 7 of them, aside from Tang Yuan, who was a superior grade martial disciple, the other 6 were medial grade or inferior grade martial masters. The group of spirit beasts surrounding them were 3 rank 4 blood wolves. A rank 4 blood wolf was equivalent to a martial grand master. It was only a matter of time before these 7 people were defeated. Even if they could defeat this group of blood wolves, with the speed of the six-tailed spirit fox, it would be able to catch up. At that time they would die even more miserably. Xiao Chen just had to wait patiently for an opportunity. He did not need to take too much risk. "First, young master, you should leave first. We will hold them off," one of the 7 people said. Tang Yuan had been waiting for these words. After saying these polite words, he immediately turned around and left with the infant spirit fox in his arms. The opportunity had come. Xiaoqin grinned. His body swayed gently in the air as he quietly followed. Tang Yuan ran down the mountain with all his might. Looking at the infant spirit fox in his embrace, he felt helpless and unresigned. If it were not for that strange person, he would not have ended up in such a situation. Boom! In the dark night, a bolt of lightning suddenly flashed in front of him. Tang Yuan was startled and quickly retreated. He thought in fear, could it be him? After the lightning faded, Xiaoqian's figure slowly appeared. He looked at Tang Yuan with a smile that was not a smile. "Young Master Tang, long time no see." When Tang Yuan saw Xiaoqian's appearance clearly, he said in disbelief, It's you, Xiaoqian. How is it possible?" "Hand over the infant 6-tailed spirit fox," Xiaoqian said coldly, ignoring Tang Yuan's astonishment. Tang Yuan was stunned for a while before he suddenly laughed loudly. "You hid your strength very well. All of us misjudged you. However, I hate people like you who like to hide their strength the most. Do you want this infant spirit fox? I will kill it now and none of us will get it." Tang Yuan seemed to have recalled something extremely painful. He raised the infant spirit fox high up in the air and ruthlessly threw it to the ground. So, a strand of purple flames spun a few times on Xiaoqian's fingertip and shot towards Tang Yuan. In the blink of an eye, the purple flame arrived in front of Tang Yuan. Tang Yuan was startled and held the infant spirit fox in his embrace again. He extended his right palm and used his essence to form a small essence shield. The flame was like an awl as it easily pierced through the essence shield in Tang Yuan's hand. After that, it drilled into his arm. Tang Yuan cried out miserably as his right hand was quickly burned to ashes. The spirit fox in his embrace also fell to the ground. Xiaoqin shouted and stomped on the ground. He flew up and kicked Tang Yuan, sending him flying. Then, he extended his hand and caught the infant spirit fox. "Don't kill me, don't kill me!" Tang Yuan, who was lying on the ground, looked at the ferocious Xiaoqian and begged for help. He no longer had the guts he had earlier. Leaving such a person alive would be a disaster. Naturally, Xiaoqian would not let him off. Xiaoqian flicked his finger and the purple thunder true fire shot out. In the next moment, Tang Yuan was struck by the purple flames. Before he could even cry out, he was burned to ashes. Looking at the ashes on the ground, Xiaoqian withdrew his gaze and looked at the infant spirit fox in his embrace. Its snow-white skin was not tainted by any dust. With its eyes closed, the spirit fox looked like a peaceful kitten. It was extremely cute. This little fellow did not know that its mother had gone crazy because of it. Xiaoqian felt that it was a pity. He took out the spirit blood jade and bit his finger. Then he dripped a drop of his blood onto the spirit blood jade. Xiaoqian immediately felt as if a trace of his soul had been extracted and poured into the spirit blood jade. Xiaoqian was slightly astonished. Nature was truly a work of the gods. Such a miraculous item could be formed naturally. Recollecting his thoughts, he followed the method that Xiaoyulan taught him and made a small cut on the infant spirit fox. The spirit fox's blood also dripped onto the spirit blood jade. Xia. The little spirit fox woke up from the pain and struggled to jump out of Xiaoqian's embrace. Before it landed, a strong suction came from the spirit blood jade and sucked the little spirit fox in. Xiaoqian sent out a strand of spiritual sense into the spirit blood jade. After it entered, an empty space appeared in front of him. The little spirit fox stood quietly in the air. The wounds on its body had already healed. It opened its eyes and looked around curiously. Xiaoqian withdrew his spiritual sense. Before he could do anything, a strong aura came over. In the dark night, a resplendent light appeared above Xiaoqian, suppressing Xiaoqian's aura. He did not dare to make any moves. Bang! The light landed on the ground and a 10-meter-tall 6-tailed spirit fox appeared in front of Xiaoqian. Its 6 white tails were at least 20 meters long, pointing straight towards the sky. Its eyes were bloodshot as it stared at Xiaoqian. An overwhelming baleful aura came from the 6-tailed spirit fox. Under this pressure, Xiaoqian found it difficult to breathe. His forehead was filled with sweat and his hands were trembling non-stop. Why did they come so quickly? Xiaoqian looked at the 6-tailed spirit fox in astonishment. These 6-tailed spirit foxes came at the wrong time. Ayo! At the critical moment, the blue dragon martial spirit in Xiaoqian's body let out a long drawn-out cry. The might of a holy beast burst forth and blocked the soaring baleful aura. Xiaoqian finally regained his ability to move. Just as Xiaochen was preparing to retreat, the huge six-tailed spirit fox suddenly collapsed. With a loud boom, it broke countless trees and kicked up a large cloud of dust. Haha, this beast is finally out of strength. Elder Tang, go and deal with that Xiao clan brat and take revenge for your young master. This old man will deal with these six-tailed spirit foxes. The blue-clothed man chased after the aura of the six-tailed spirit foxes and laughed loudly. Tang Feng snorted coldly and did not say anything. He stared at Xiaochen. He and the blue-clothed man had just arrived when they saw Tang Yuan dying at the hands of Xiaochen. If it were not for the blue-clothed man holding him back, he would have rushed over. Chapter 41. Hu Qi. Just as the man in blue was about to make his move, a flying saber pierced through the air and flew towards him. The essence on the flying saber created a shockwave in the air. In the dark night, one could even see the sparks from the intense friction. The expression of the man in blue did not change. He looked at the glowing flying saber and circulated the essence in his body. A few stone lines gathered on his right hand and flowed into it, spinning continuously. Within the whirlpool, a rock shot out and accurately struck the flying saber. There was a loud explosion and the flying saber and the rock both shattered into pieces, scattering in all directions with the shockwave. Seeing Lu Fenglin walk out from the darkness, great waves appeared in the heart of the man in blue. Since when did Mo City have another martial saint? Could it be that the clan's information was wrong? However, he soon calmed down. This was because he discovered that the old man in front of him was only an inferior grade martial saint. As for himself, he was already a medial grade martial saint. At their cultivation realm, the difference of one grade would mean a huge difference in strength. Unless the other person had a divine weapon or a high-ranked martial technique, it was only a matter of time before they were defeated. Who are you? Do you also have designs on these six-tailed spirit foxes? Do you know the principle of first come, first served? After he saw Lu Fenglin's cultivation realm, the tone of the man in blue was no longer polite. Lu Fenglin smiled coldly and said indifferently, "First come, first served? I only know that those who are capable get it. I have never heard of this principle of first come, first served." This Lu Fenglin had only become a martial saint at the age of 60. His talent could only be said to be average. Many years ago, he already knew that he would not be able to make any progress in his cultivation realm. If he wanted to improve his strength, he could only think of other methods. This six-tailed spirit fox in front of him was a good opportunity. After he subdued it, it would be of great help to him. Furthermore, with his status in the Xiao clan, he believed that after weighing the pros and cons, the Xiao clan would definitely make Xiaochen hand over the spirit blood jade. Regardless of whether he was willing or not, the Xiao clan would not offend a martial saint for an inferior grade martial disciple. The expression of the man in blue turned cold and a gleam flashed in his eyes. He smiled coldly, "You are just an inferior grade martial saint, yet you speak so arrogantly." Lu Fenglin faintly smiled and casually pointed, "Look over there." The person in blue followed the direction of his finger and his expression changed greatly. Tang Feng, who was originally prepared to deal with Xiaochen, was now dealing with the attacks of the three martial grandmasters of the Xiao clan in a sorry state. As for Xiaochen, he had already dodged to the side, calmly watching the battle. With three martial grandmasters fighting Tang Feng, there would not be any mishaps. Tang Feng's defeat was only a matter of time. At that time, when the three of them worked together with Lu Fenglin, even if the blue-clothed man was a medial grade martial saint, he would not be able to gain an advantage. The man in blue quickly thought of a countermeasure. A moment later, he made a decision in his heart. With a shout, he stomped his feet on the ground and rocks appeared under his feet. The rock under his feet moved at a rapid speed. The rock was like a living creature as it twined around his legs. The speed of the blue-clothed man suddenly increased explosively. In an instant he had arrived in front of Lu Fenglin and fiercely kicked him. Bang, bang, bang. At the same time, there were three explosions behind the blue-clothed man. 3 earthen dragons burst out from the ground. They roared angrily and rushed at Lu Fenglin, sealing off all his escape routes. Lu Fenglin did not have an overly flustered expression on his face. He had already expected that the person in front of him would not give up so easily. He was constantly on guard against the sudden attack of the blue-clothed man. Lu Fenglin sent out a palm strike and blocked the kick of the blue-clothed man. Using the rebound force, he leaped into the air. Countless flying daggers appeared around him, spinning rapidly. Dance of 1,000 blades. The spinning flying daggers carried a huge amount of energy. They gave off a whistling sound and a tornado tens of meters tall suddenly formed, blocking the 3 earthen dragons. The flying daggers spinning in the wind caused thousands of holes to appear on the gray bodies of the earthen dragons. For a moment the two of them were in a deadlock. The 3 earthen dragons circled around the strong wind. Occasionally they would collide with the wall of wind intensely. The countless flying daggers on the wall of wind continuously exhausted the energy of the earthen dragons. The tornado that suddenly appeared and the circling earthen dragons formed an intense wind current. Gusts of wind spread out in all directions. The surroundings of the 2 martial saints were instantly filled with sand and rocks, and a strong wind howled. The first elder, Xiaochang, led 2 martial grandmasters to deal with Tang Feng. The situation was very relaxed. However, if they wanted to completely defeat Tang Feng, they would still need a period of time. After all, a martial grandmaster was not easy to deal with. Xiaochang glanced at the battle between Lu Fenglin and the blue-clothed man from the corner of his eyes. He could not help but feel a trace of worry in his heart. The 2 of them seemed to be equally matched and were locked in a stalemate. However, anyone with a discerning eye could tell that Lu Fenglin was at a disadvantage. If Lu Fenglin was defeated, then the 3 of them would not be a match for the blue-clothed man. Tang Feng clearly understood the reasoning behind this. Hence, he expended his essence without a care for his life. He executed all sorts of martial techniques non-stop in order to delay the 3 of them. Only when the blue-clothed man won would he have a chance to live. The battle in the arena entered a strange situation. As long as one side could finish the battle quickly, the other side would immediately be defeated. Amidst the weak balance, everyone present had forgotten about Xiao Chen, who was quietly standing at the side. It was a very simple logic. No one would believe that an insignificant inferior-grade martial disciple would have the ability to interfere in a battle between a martial grandmaster and a martial saint. However, was the situation really like this? Seeing Tang Feng bitterly holding on, the corner of Xiao Chen's mouth curled up into a cold smile. His spiritual sense locked onto Tang Feng's body. The essence in his body was continuously exhausted, and the lightning descend spell was ready to be unleashed. Boom! A bolt of lightning that exhausted half of Xiao Chen's essence descended from the sky. The thunderous lightning lit up the dark night like it was daytime. The instant the lightning solidified, everyone's expression turned sluggish. Tang Feng, who was in a bitter battle, did not notice the lightning that suddenly appeared. After the light dissipated, the dark night arrived once again. The lightning that only existed for an instant gave people a feeling that it was unreal. However, Tang Feng, who was completely charred and had black smoke coming out of his head, felt very real. Attack! The first elder, Xiaochang, was the first to react. He sent a palm strike at Tang Feng's body. The 2 people beside him quickly made their moves. Another 2 sharp attacks landed on Tang Feng's body. Xiaochang turned his head and looked at the calm Xiao Chen. There was a trace of confusion in his eyes, but he quickly withdrew his gaze and said, "Go and help." With Xiao Chen making his move, the situation of the battle instantly turned around. Lu Fenglin led the 3 martial grandmasters to surround and attack the blue-clothed man. The blue-clothed man looked at Tang Feng's corpse hatefully, feeling extremely dissatisfied in his heart. At this moment there was no longer any chance of victory. The blue-clothed man was a decisive person. After he blocked the attacks of the 4 people, he immediately retreated. Lu Fenglin looked at the unconscious 6-tailed spirit fox on the ground, then looked at the nearby Xiao Chen. He said to the first elder, "Chase, he is not injured now. He can sneak attack us at any time." Indeed, the sneak attack of a medial-grade martial saint could instantly cause 3 martial grandmasters to lose their combat prowess. At this point, Lu Fenglin did not dare to be careless. After all, the body of the 6-tailed spirit fox was so huge. Even if Xiao Chen wanted to move it away, he would not have the ability to do so. Killing it was even more impossible. He was the only one here. If the 6-tailed spirit fox died, everyone would know that he was the culprit. Without any worries, Lu Fenglin did not hesitate to lead the 3 of them to chase after the blue-clothed man. He did not hope to kill him, but he wanted to make sure that he did not have the ability to attack again. As Xiao Chen watched the 3 of them leave, he slowly walked towards the 6-tailed spirit fox on the ground. When Lu Fenglin left earlier, the threat in his eyes was very obvious. Thinking of Lu Fenglin's attitude, Xiao Chen felt indignant. He snorted lightly, "An inferior-grade martial saint. He is just a consecrator of my Xiao clan. Yet he does not care about me at all." The moment he opened his mouth, he asked for the spirit blood jade. "Now he even dares to threaten me. This young master will not do as you wish." Focusing his gaze on the 6-tailed spirit fox, Xiao Chen saw that its body was covered in horrifying wounds. Some of the horrifying wounds were even visible to the bone. These wounds should have been left behind when the six-tailed spirit fox fought with the blue-clothed man when it was weak. After it went berserk, it overdrafted its life force, causing its injuries to become even more severe. This was once a rank 6 spirit beast, an inferior grade martial king. Now it was in such a miserable state. Xiaoqin felt that it was a pity. Even though they were animals, the relationship between mother and child was very sincere. Xiaoqin thought about the cute little fellow in the spirit blood jade. If it was not for this little fellow, the absolute king of Seven-Horn Mountain would not be in such a sorry state. Xiaoqin measured the size of the six-tailed spirit fox. After he understood, he aimed the universe ring in his hand at the six-tailed spirit fox on the ground. With a "so" sound, the six-tailed spirit fox entered the universe ring. The spatial rings of this world could not contain living things. However, the universe ring was different. If the spirit beast was unconscious or willing to enter, as long as it could contain it, there would not be any problems. Lu Fenglin, who had left, did not expect that Xiaoqin would use the universe ring to bring the six-tailed spirit fox away. Otherwise, even if he was beaten to death, he would not have let Xiaoqin stay where he was. Xiaoqin extended his spiritual sense to investigate his surroundings. He discovered that the surrounding spirit beasts had mostly dispersed. This should have something to do with the six-tailed spirit fox fainting. After he figured out the direction in which Lu Fenglin and the others left, Xiaoqin withdrew his spiritual sense and swallowed a qi-returning pill. Then he headed in another direction and continuously used the lightning evasion. After 10 claps of thunder, Xiaoqin was already 1,000 meters away. Seven-Horn Mountain was only 3,000 meters tall. The place where Xiaoqin stopped was halfway up the mountain. He rested for a while and waited for his essence to replenish. Then Xiaoqin found a hidden cave and stopped. He released the six-tailed spirit fox from the universe ring. Xiaoqin muttered to himself, "Just treat it as me repaying my debt of gratitude. I snatched away your child for nothing. I cannot watch you die like this. Furthermore, I will not let Lu Fenglin snatch you away. At that time your fate will be even more miserable." Chapter 42. Lu Fenglin led the first elder and the other two and chased after the blue-clothed person anxiously. However, the blue-clothed person's speed was incomparably fast. The rocks around his feet twisted and turned continuously, allowing him to move as though he was flying. Not long after they left the sight of the group. Everyone could only helplessly give up on the chase. Under Lu Fenglin's lead they hurried back. What's going on? Why did the six-tailed spirit fox disappear? Lu Fenglin said in astonishment as he looked at the empty ground. Where's Xiaoqin? Where did Xiaoqin go? He must have secretly taken the six-tailed spirit fox away. The six-tailed spirit fox had disappeared and Xiaoqin could not find it. Lu Fenglin immediately thought that Xiaoqin might have taken the six-tailed spirit fox away. Then he felt that something was wrong. The six-tailed spirit fox was over 10 meters tall. As an inferior grade martial disciple, Xiaoqin would not be able to take it away without leaving a trace. When Xiaoqiang heard Lu Fenglin's reprimanding tone, a trace of anger flashed in his eyes. This Lu Fenglin was too arrogant. No matter what, Xiaoqin was the second son of the clan head. How could he, a consecrator, speak to him in such a manner? Hiding his emotions, the first elder carefully observed his surroundings. He discovered that there were no traces of the six-tailed spirit fox being dragged away. It was as though the six-tailed spirit fox had disappeared into thin air. After muttering to himself for a while, Xiaoqiang said, "Elder Lu, the way I see it, the six-tailed spirit fox's disappearance is too strange. It is too early to conclude that it was taken away by Xiaoqin." The other two martial grandmasters looked at their surroundings and felt that it was very strange as well. This situation was unimaginable. One of them said, "Could it be that after the six-tailed spirit fox recovered from its injuries, it flew away with Xiaoqin? That's absurd. That six-tailed spirit fox was already severely injured. After that, it went berserk and exhausted a large amount of its life force. How could it recover so quickly?" Lu Fenglin retorted loudly. Xiaoqiang stood with his hands behind his back and carefully observed his surroundings. However, he did not discover any clues. It looked like only Xiaoqin knew the reason for the disappearance of the six-tailed spirit fox. After thinking for a while, Xiaoqiang said, "The most important thing now is to find Xiaoqin first. No matter what, he is the second son of the clan head. If anything happens to him, we will not be able to bear the consequences. Now that the spirit beast rampage has stopped, I've decided to seal off the mountain immediately. There's no need to wait until tomorrow. If you run into any remnants of the Tang family, you can kill them on the spot." Lu Fenglin did not have any objections to this arrangement. He also did not know how the six-tailed spirit fox had disappeared. He could only find Xiaoqin first. 2 flowers bloomed, one on each side. At this moment, Xiaoqin was in the hidden cave, applying golden salve to the six-tailed spirit fox. This golden salve was given to him by Xiao Yulan previously, but he had never used it. Now it finally came in handy. Xiaoqin carefully applied the golden salve to all the wounds. The white medicinal powder gave off a sizzling sound as the skin of the unconscious six-tailed spirit fox trembled. After doing all this, Xiaoqin started to slowly infuse the essence in his body into the body of the six-tailed spirit fox. Streams of gentle essence silently nourished the severely injured internal organs of the six-tailed spirit fox. While Xiaoqin was concentrating on treating the six-tailed spirit fox, he did not notice that the originally unconscious six-tailed spirit fox opened its tightly shut eyes slightly. It had memorized Xiaoqin's appearance in its heart. After circulating the essence in the six-tailed spirit fox's body once, Xiaoqin discovered that the meridians of this spirit beast could be used to cultivate the cultivation methods recorded in the Compendium of Cultivation for Demonic Beasts. According to the Compendium of Cultivation, all living creatures with spirituality could cultivate. In the ancient legends of China, there were many famous demonic immortals. After hesitating for a while, Xiaoqin decided to teach the mysterious 9 heavenly revolution transformation recorded in the Compendium of Cultivation to the six-tailed spirit fox. There were very few records of demonic beasts in the Compendium of Cultivation. There was only the mysterious 9 heavenly revolution transformation. Following the circulation method of the mysterious 9 heavenly revolution transformation, Xiaoqin controlled his essence and slowly circulated it through the meridians of the six-tailed spirit fox. After an hour, the essence completed a small cycle according to the mysterious 9 heavenly revolution transformation. This was equivalent to leaving a circulation method for the essence in the body of the six-tailed spirit fox. After it woke up, it could follow the essence path that Xiaoqin left behind and cultivate by itself. Take it as compensation, Xiaoqin muttered to himself as he withdrew his essence. This mysterious 9 heavenly revolution transformation was a mysterious cultivation method left behind by the legendary demonic realm. Idiot, why are you still not leaving? This fox is about to wake up. Suddenly, a melodious voice came from the empty cave. Xiaoqin, who was deep in thought, was startled. He immediately released his spiritual sense and looked around. However, in the empty cave, aside from himself and the unconscious six-tailed spirit fox, there was no one else. Using his spiritual sense, he did not find anyone within a kilometer of him. Was it an illusion? It doesn't seem like it, Xiaoqin thought suspiciously as he looked around vigilantly. Idiot, stop looking, I am here. Under Xiaoqin's astonished gaze, a somewhat illusory figure of a girl slowly floated out from the universe ring in his hand. This girl looked to be about 14 or 15 years old. She wore red clothes and looked very cute. However, her body gave off a feeling of emptiness. Xiaoqin was stunned for a long time before he reacted. He asked, "Are you a human or a ghost? How did you come out?" Hearing Xiaoqin's question, a furious expression appeared on the girl's face. However, when this furious expression appeared on her adorable face, no one could sense any anger at all. "I am not a human or a ghost, I am just a sword spirit. Don't make such a big deal out of nothing. My name is Ao Jiao," the girl said with disdain. Sword spirit? Could it be the broken sword in the Thunder King's cave? Xiaoqin suddenly recalled that when he dripped his blood on the universe ring, he had heard a girl's voice. At that time he thought it was an illusion and did not pay much attention to it. Just as Xiaoqin was about to ask a question, the infant spirit fox in the spirit blood jade suddenly leaped out and ran towards the unconscious six-tailed spirit fox. Xiaoqin was startled and was about to grab it back. "Don't chase after it. This little fellow has signed a blood contract with you. It will not get lost." Ao Jiao looked at Xiaoqin, who was preparing to make a move. After she spoke, she flew out of the cave. Although Xiaoqin was concerned about the infant spirit fox, he had too many questions about the sudden appearance of this girl. So he could only follow her. Outside the cave, the girl called Ao Jiao was not a girl. To be more accurate, she was a sword spirit. She had a grave expression as she looked up at the stars in the sky. It seemed like there was something she was chasing. Xiaoqin organized his thoughts. After he thought through the questions he wanted to ask, he stepped forward and said, "Who exactly are you? How are you related to me? You can tell me more clearly." Ao Jiao, who was floating in the air and looking at the stars, turned her head back. She did not answer Xiaoqin's question directly. Instead, she sized up Xiaoqin from top to bottom like she was sizing up goods. Her eyes revealed an expression of dissatisfaction. Xiaoqin felt very uncomfortable being stared at like that. He said somewhat impatiently, "Hey wimpy brat. Can you not look at me like that? Answer my question. Where did you come from?" Ao Jiao frowned and clenched her right hand into a fist. She said ruthlessly, "Who are you calling a wimpy brat? You trashy master. Do you believe that I will throw you into the sea of skeletons to feed the zombies? Trashy master?" When Xiaoqin heard this, he thought about the clues he knew. This little fellow came out from his universe ring. The predecessor of the universe ring was the broken sword from the Thunder King's cave. Earlier, this little fellow said that every divine weapon would give birth to a weapon spirit. Sabers had saber spirits, swords had sword spirits, spears had spear spirits. Weapon spirits possessed intelligence no different from humans. However, their personalities were different. When a divine weapon possessed a weapon spirit, it would truly possess spirituality. In battle, its might would also become even stronger. The broken sword in the Thunder King's cave seemed to be a divine weapon. However, due to some unknown reason, the sword was broken in half. However, the sword spirit within it was not destroyed. In that case, it was very likely that the situation was like this. When I forged the broken sword into a universe ring and refined it into a magic treasure, I unintentionally subdued this sword spirit and became its master. Thinking of this, Xiaoqin smiled to himself. Taking in a lowly sword spirit as a servant was not a bad thing. However, this fellow's attitude seemed a little off. "Hey idiot. Why are you laughing foolishly for no reason? Epilepsy?" Ao Jiao said suspiciously as she looked at Xiaoqin, who suddenly laughed. "Idiot? Epilepsy?" Xiaoqin nearly vomited a mouthful of blood. He said angrily, "I should be your master, right? Is this your attitude?" The corner of Ao Jiao's mouth curled up into a cold smile as she said, "Master? I was just about to tell you. Although I don't know how you became my master when I was unconscious, with your current strength, you are not even an ant in my eyes. Can you expect an elephant to have a good attitude towards an ant? Young man, this is illogical." "Ant?" Xiaoqin was somewhat annoyed. However, when he saw Ao Jiao's expression, he could not get angry. Even if this little girl was a poisonous snake with her cute face, it was impossible to be angry at her. Xiaoqin smiled bitterly. "In that case, Miss Ao Jiao, why did you suddenly appear? Is it just to look down on this trash of a master? I'm just reminding you to leave quickly. That six-tailed spirit fox is about to recover. You have sealed her cub. If you do not leave now, only death awaits you. If you die, I will also be injured. So, quickly become stronger. Trash of a master, don't let a sword spirit live in fear. It is very embarrassing." After Ao Jiao finished speaking, she took one last look at the stars in the sky before entering the universe ring. No matter how Xiaoqin called out, she did not come out. Chapter 43. Although Xiaoqin could guess that the sword spirit Ao Jiao appearing out of nowhere was not as simple as she made it out to be, based on her current attitude, it was clear that she was unable to be honest with Xiaoqin. Furthermore, no matter how he called out, she would not come out. Xiaoqin could only suppress the doubts in his heart. Coincidentally, at this moment, the infant spirit fox ran back and entered the spirit blood jade. Xiaoqin turned his gaze to the entrance of the cave and sent out his spiritual sense. He saw the six-tailed spirit fox trying to stand up. In a short while, it would probably run out of the cave. Hurriedly withdrawing his spiritual sense, Xiaoqin executed the gravity spell and flew up. After flying for a long time, he found a big tree in the dark night and stopped on it. He sat down cross-legged and calmed himself down. After swallowing an essence-nurturing pill, Xiaoqin sat on this big tree and started to cultivate. The purple thunder divine incantation, which had already reached the second layer, circulated even faster in his body. The surrounding spiritual energy frantically poured into Xiaoqin's body. The thick spiritual energy in his body was like lead mercury, slowly circulating in his meridians. After a small cycle, it finally gathered in his dantian. Under the effects of the essence-nurturing pill, the amount of spiritual energy that Xiaoqin absorbed in a small cycle was more than double that of a regular cultivator. The blue dragon, which was surrounded by white clouds, opened its mouth and happily absorbed the huge amount of spiritual energy into its body. Immediately, the three white clouds floating in the surroundings became even more vibrant, and their color became even whiter. Hoo! The blue dragon opened its mouth and spat out a stream of pure essence. After that, it entered his meridians and entered his flesh and bones, continuously nourishing Xiaoqin's body. Normally, a cultivator's cultivation focused on cultivating their spirit. That was to say, they would use the spiritual energy they absorbed to cultivate their martial spirit. As their martial spirit and cultivation realm increased, they would strengthen themselves. Xuanhuan was a classic example. After continuous cultivation, her martial spirit had already reached a very strong realm. The poinsettia could turn into countless petals and poisonous gas, strengthening her combat prowess in battle. However, Xiaoqian's cultivation method was somewhat different. With the blue dragon martial soul absorbing the spiritual energy, he could use it a second time to temper his bones and flesh. This was also because he did not know the exact abilities of the blue dragon martial spirit. However, every martial spirit had its own distinct abilities. For example, the poinsettia was extremely poisonous, while Zhang He's Haotian sword allowed him to unleash sword qi at the martial master realm. However, no one knew what specific abilities Xiaoqian's blue dragon martial soul had. Regarding this aspect of inheritance, it could be said that the Xiao clan had been completely cut off. If they wanted to rely on themselves to uncover it, it would not be something that could be understood in a short period of time. Concentrating and guarding his qi, Xiaoqian circulated the heaven and earth spiritual qi in his body for 49 cycles. The blue dragon martial soul in his dantian suddenly began to swell. This kind of swelling feeling did not cause him any pain. Instead, it made him feel extremely excited. Xiaoqian rejoiced in his heart. This meant that he was about to make a breakthrough. Xiaoqian's foundations were good in the first place. These days he had been using the essence nurturing pill to aid his cultivation. In addition to the continuous battles, it was only natural for him to enter the medial grade martial disciple realm. Bang! That swelling feeling was suddenly released. The dantian in his body was in a state of chaos. The spiritual energy was like a fog spreading out. Xiaoqian carefully tidied up the fog. After a while, the situation of the blue dragon martial spirit became clear. The white clouds that were originally floating around the blue dragon had increased from 3 to 5. Xiaoqian could clearly feel that the essence stored in his body had increased significantly. Suppressing the joy in his heart, Xiaoqian continued to circulate the purple thunder divine incantation, consolidating his newly advanced medial grade martial disciple realm. The blue dragon martial spirit also continued to spit out essence, nourishing Xiaoqian's flesh and blood. When Xiaoqian opened his eyes again, the sky in the mountains was already bright. The mountain was covered in dew, causing Xiaoqian to feel incomparably refreshed. He took a deep breath and felt very refreshed. Jumping down from the tree, Xiaoqian extended out his spiritual sense. He felt that the range of his spiritual sense had increased significantly. I have to hurry back. When Lu Fenglin returns and sees me and the six-tailed spirit fox disappearing at the same time, he will definitely be suspicious. The longer I disappear, the harder it will be to explain the situation. Although he had to hurry back, Xiaoqian was not in a rush. Along the way he released his spiritual sense. The green dot in his spiritual sense was able to find the hidden herbs in an instant. With such a good opportunity and the free time Xiaoqian had, naturally, he would not let go of these herbs that he had obtained for free. Herbs from the lowest grade to the highest grade were categorized into 9 grades. Anything above grade 4 could be considered superior grade herbs. These herbs could be worth thousands of gold anywhere. Herbs above grade 6 were considered to be of the best quality. Grade 8 and 9 herbs were considered peerless. They were excellent ingredients for refining pills. Some natural treasures could even be consumed directly. However, there were no medicinal pills above grade 6 in Seven-Horn Mountain. The main reason was that the mountain did not have sufficient spiritual energy and there were no good spirit veins. The red nascent fruit that Xiaoqian obtained was only a grade 6 herb. Along the way, as long as it was a grade 2 herb, Xiaoqian would place it in his universe ring. In 2 hours, his universe ring was filled with a large pile of herbs. Such a large harvest was comparable to a day's worth of effort by a regular herb gatherer. It is actually a grade 5 earth poria. My luck is pretty good. Xiaoqian rejoiced in his heart. He carefully picked it and placed it in his universe ring. Just as he was about to reach the Xiao clan's encampment, Xiaoqian unexpectedly obtained a grade 5 earth poria. Grade 5 earth poria had a cold nature and a stable medicinal effect. It could play a supporting role in many medicinal pills. It could greatly increase the success rate of medicinal pills. When refined alone, it could also be used to detoxify and remove dampness. When Xiaoqian raised his head and looked, the Xiao clan's encampment was already in front of him. He stopped picking herbs and calmed himself down before slowly walking towards the encampment. When the guard in front of the encampment saw Xiaoqian suddenly appear, he was stunned for a moment. Then his face lit up with joy. He quickly ran over and said, "Second young master, you are finally back. The first elder and the others sent several groups of people to look for you yesterday." They sent several groups of people to look for me? It looks like I will have to spend a lot of effort to explain later. I have to think of a good excuse, Xiaochen thought to himself. After he asked where the first elder was and obtained an answer, Xiaochen walked towards the great hall. Releasing his spiritual sense, Xiaochen quickly saw Lu Fenglin and the others in the great hall. Within the great hall, the first elder, third elder, and Lu Fenglin all had ugly expressions on their faces. It looked like the events of the previous night had caused them a lot of trouble. In a corner, Xiaochen was surprised to see Xiao Yulan. She was there as well, her face filled with worry. First elder, have you not found second young master yet? Lu Fenglin had a sullen expression as he asked indifferently. Xiao Chang was feeling vexed over this matter. The people he sent out yesterday had searched for an entire night, but they did not find any traces of Xiao Chen. When he heard Lu Fenglin's tone, he could not help but feel displeased. However, no matter what, Lu Fenglin was the only martial saint in the Xiao clan. Xiao Chang still had to rely on him for many things, so he did not dare to vent his anger on him. He restrained the displeasure in his heart and said, "There is still no news. The people I sent out reported that there were no obvious traces of him on the ground. It would be strange if they could find any traces. Xiao Chen's gravity spell allowed him to fly in the sky. How could he be found on the ground?" With regards to this answer, Lu Fenglin was not too surprised. After all, the events of the previous night were too strange. The heavily injured six-tailed spirit fox and Xiao Chen actually disappeared at the same time. Furthermore, there were no traces of them at all. When Xiao Yulan heard this, her face became even more worried. In the instant she raised her head, she suddenly saw Xiao Chen standing outside the door with a smile. Xiao Yulan, who thought that she was seeing things, rubbed her eyes. Only then did she dare to believe that what she saw was real. She said happily, "Cousin Xiao Chen, you are back." When everyone in the hall heard this, they immediately turned to look outside. They only saw Xiao Chen standing outside the door, perfectly fine. He slowly walked in. "Xiao Chen, where is that six-tailed spirit fox? Where did you take it?" Lu Fenglin immediately asked loudly when he saw Xiao Chen. Xiao Chang frowned slightly and said slowly, "Xiao Chen, speak slowly. What exactly happened last night? Where did the six-tailed spirit fox go?" Xiao Chen had already thought of a countermeasure in his heart. He smiled and said, "I'm not sure. After you all left, I felt that I was about to make a breakthrough. So I found a place to advance. I only just heard what happened after that." He advanced? Only now did everyone realize that Xiao Chen had already broken through from inferior grade martial disciple to medial grade martial disciple. They could not help but feel astonished. This Xiao Chen's cultivation speed was too fast. He had only condensed his martial spirit a month ago. Now he had already broken through to medial grade martial disciple. This speed was comparable to the geniuses of some of the big clans. When Xiao Chang heard this, he felt joy in his heart. With Xiao Chen advancing at such a godly speed, his chances of winning the promise of 10 years and 3 months had increased significantly. He smiled and said, "Congratulations. Elder Lu, are you satisfied with this reason?" Lu Fenglin snorted coldly, "I don't care whether you advance or not. Hand over the spirit blood jade." Xiao Chen smiled faintly and sat down on a chair. He drank a mouthful of tea and tossed the spirit blood jade onto the table. Lu Fenglin felt joy in his heart and stretched out his hand to grab it. The corner of Xiao Chen's mouth curled up into a cold smile. He said unhurriedly, "Elder Lu, I have already sealed the infant spirit fox in this spirit blood jade. If you want it, then take it. However, I believe that you will not live to see the day the spirit fox grows up." Lu Fenglin's expression changed greatly. He released his aura and shouted angrily, "How dare you? Are you seeking death?" Under the aura of a martial saint, along with Lu Fenglin's angry roar, the aura pressed down on Xiao Chen. The surrounding air seemed to freeze momentarily. Everyone could feel Lu Fenglin's anger. Xiao Chen did not feel any fear. This was not the first time he had faced the aura of a martial saint. The blue dragon martial spirit in his body gave off a faint pressure, easily blocking this overflowing aura. With a thought, the infant spirit fox and the spirit blood jade leaped out. Although this little fellow did not have much strength, it was still a spirit fox. Although this little fellow did not have much strength, it was the descendant of a six-tailed spirit fox. It was a natural rank 6 spirit beast. Naturally, it was not afraid of this aura. With a gentle jump, it landed in Xiao Chen's embrace. Xiao Chen gently stroked the pure white fur of the infant spirit fox and said, "Elder Lu, you saw it for yourself. I did not lie to you, right?" Chapter 44. When Xiao Chang saw that the atmosphere between the two of them was not right, he quickly said, "Xiao Chen, watch your attitude. Since you have already obtained the infant spirit fox, why are you not apologizing to Senior Lu? On the surface, Xiao Chang's words seemed to be reprimanding Xiao Qin. However, in reality he was tacitly admitting that Xiao Qin had obtained the spirit blood jade. He was just giving Lu Fenglin a way out of this embarrassing situation. With Xiao Qin's intelligence, how could he not understand the first elder's intentions? He gently placed the spirit fox on the table and cupped his hands, smiling. Senior Lu, this junior did not know what was good for me and spoke rudely. I apologize for offending you. Lu Fenglin snorted coldly and withdrew his aura. He did not say anything and the expression on his face did not change for the better. It was obvious that he was still in a bad mood. Senior Lu, this is a medial grade profound rank spirit weapon. I see that you do not have a suitable weapon. How about you bear with it? Xiao Chang said as he took out the huge sword he obtained from the Tang clan from his spatial ring. Lu Fenglin looked coldly at the medial grade profound ranked spirit weapon that Xiao Chang handed over. He did not extend his hand to receive it. After losing the six-tailed spirit fox, he was unable to accept the huge disparity in strength. First uncle, it seems like Senior Lu does not think highly of this profound ranked spirit weapon. Coincidentally, my nephew's spirit weapon was destroyed. How about Senior Lu give it to me? Xiao Qin said half-truthfully when he saw that Lu Fenglin was unwilling to receive it. Although Lu Fenglin was furious, he did not flare up this time. He stood up and left. Xiao Chang did not see him do anything, but the huge sword in Xiao Chang's hand automatically flew towards him. Xiao Qin thought to himself that it was a pity. After all, it was a medial grade profound ranked spirit weapon. In Mo City it could be said to be a peak existence. When Xiao Chang saw that Lu Fenglin finally accepted the huge sword, he heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. He turned around and lectured Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin, you cannot be so rude to Elder Lu in the future. He is of the same generation as your grandfather. You cannot forget basic etiquette. Xiao Qin thought otherwise. This Lu Fenglin relied on his own strength to snatch the things of a junior. He did not have a good impression of him. Seeing that Xiao Qin did not say anything, Xiao Chang roughly knew what he was thinking. He explained, Elder Lu, although he did go overboard in certain aspects, I can guarantee you that he would not do anything detrimental to the Xiao clan. Xiao Qin found it funny. It seemed that girls did not have any resistance towards such cute things. He explained, Clan Xiao Qin did not want to continue. He of Xiao Qin of the Qin. Xiao Qin did not want to end Xiao Qin's and the spirit Xiao Qin's. After all, Qin and the Qiu and spirit were both. He and would be, and the Qin and family would. The Xiao and Fting. The beast was that the Xiao Qin. And the Qin and Xiao Hu and Xiao there they was. Xiao Qin Xiao and. He Lu I a Xiao and. When Xiao Yulan heard this, she did not show any expression. In her opinion, the death of such a person was not worth pitying. On the other hand, when Xiao Chang heard Tang Yuan's identity, his expression changed. He seemed to be thinking about something. When Xiao Qin saw the change in Xiao Chang's expression, he felt suspicious. Just as he was about to ask a question, a Xiao clan disciple rushed in from outside the hall. He was holding a letter in his hand and handed it to Xiao Chang with an anxious expression. First Elder, this is an urgent letter sent by the second elder. A letter from the second elder? A look of confusion flashed in Xiao Chang's eyes. Why would the second elder send a letter at this time? The second elder of the Xiao clan often worked in the Chizi County's county lord's residence. He was the favorite of the county lord. In terms of prestige in the Xiao clan, the second elder's prestige was even higher than that of the first elder, Xiao Chang. This was because the Xiao clan's greatest backer was the Chizi County lord. Currently, the only person who had a say in the Chizi County was the second elder. Xiao Chang opened the letter and quickly read it. After he saw the contents clearly, his eyes turned grave. After he finished reading, his expression was a mixture of joy and worry. What's wrong? What's written in the letter? Xiao Yulan asked worriedly when she saw her father frowning. Xiao Qin also looked at Xiao Chang suspiciously. He did not know what was written in the letter for the first elder to have such a grave expression. Back then, when they sealed the mountains, he did not have such an expression. Xiao Chang put away the letter and said in a deep voice, The trial of Gloomy Forest will be brought forward. This is the first-hand news I got from the county lord. It will reach Mo City in a few days. When Xiao Qin heard this, his heart skipped a beat. From the memories of this body, he had some understanding of the trial of Gloomy Forest. Gloomy Forest was a demonic beast forest in the Chizi County. There was a spatial crack that connected the demonic world and the Tianwu continent. The demonic chi from the demonic world in the crack had contaminated the spirit beasts and trees in the forest. Under the contamination of the demonic qi, these spirit beasts all turned into horrifying demonic beasts. After turning into demonic beasts, all the spirituality of the spirit beasts would disappear, leaving behind only a bloodthirsty and tyrannical nature. Their strength would also become even more powerful. A rank 2 demonic beast was as strong as a rank 3 spirit beast. Furthermore, it would always be in a berserk state, making it extremely ferocious. Some of the trees in the forest had also mutated due to the contamination of the demonic qi. Horrifying tree spirits and man-eating flowers that were tens of meters tall were everywhere. After the demonic calamity, there were many spatial cracks in the Qianwu continent. The larger spatial cracks were all sealed by the senior experts of the 3 holy masters' lands. They were classified as forbidden lands and outsiders were not allowed to enter. However, there were too many of these spatial cracks in the continent. It was not realistic for the people of the 3 holy masters' lands to seal them all. Thus, some of the smaller spatial cracks remained. Unless something big happened, the 3 holy masters' lands would not send people to seal these small spatial cracks. The spatial crack in Gloomy Forest was one of these small spatial cracks. The demonic qi would only spread within the forest and would not radiate out. As long as ordinary people did not go into the forest, there would not be any danger. However, if left alone, when the number of demonic beasts reached a certain level, they would come out of the forest and threaten the surrounding cities. Thus, the various countries of the Qianwu continent would send people to keep an eye on these demonic beast forests. Once there were any abnormal reactions, they would send out strong cultivators to deal with these demonic beasts. The experiential training in Gloomy Forest referred to when they were dealing with these demonic beasts. The powers of the surrounding cities would send out their young disciples to the periphery of the demonic beast forest for experiential training. The environment of the demonic beast forest was vile, and the demonic beasts were incomparably ferocious. However, there would not be any strong demonic beasts in the periphery. To the young cultivators, it was a very good place for experiential training. During the experiential training, the various clans would compare themselves with each other. It could be said that it was a big test for the various clans. If the Xiao clan's results in the experiential training were very bad, the news would quickly spread throughout the entire Mo city. It would be a huge blow to the reputation of the entire Xiao clan. What was more serious was that the Cheesy County Lord and the city lords of the surrounding cities would appear during the experiential training. As the number 1 power in Mo city, the Xiao clan had to have a good result. If they were not able to obtain first place, they would leave the impression that they were not strong enough and had no successors. This was also the reason why Xiao Chang was happy and worried at the same time. If they performed well this time, they would be able to greatly increase the morale of the Xiao clan before the promise of 10 years. If not, it would leave a huge shadow on the Xiao clan. Xiao Qin collected his thoughts, but he was not afraid at all. He asked with some anticipation, "When exactly will the experiential training begin?" 7 days later. This is the information that I obtained from the county lord. It will take about 2 days before it reaches Mo City. The 2 of you should pack up and leave the mountain as soon as possible. The 2 of you will be participating in this experiential training. The environment of the demonic beast forest is very vile. I have to hurry back to discuss it and make early preparations, Xiao Chang said as he looked at the 2 of them. Although Xiao Chun was only a medial grade martial disciple, when he was an inferior grade martial disciple, he had defeated the superior grade martial disciple Xiao Jian. Now that he had advanced to medial grade martial disciple, his strength would naturally increase. Because Xiao Yulan had awakened her martial spirit at the age of 5, she had long since become a medial grade martial master. With such a realm, she could definitely be considered a peak existence in the entire Mo city. Whether or not the Xiao clan could obtain a good result in this experiential training depended largely on the performance of these 2 people. Xiao Chang's eyes were filled with anticipation as he looked at the 2 of them. In that case, how are we going to settle the score for the Tang clan causing trouble in our 7-Horn Mountain? Xiao Yulan had always remembered the Tang clan's people injuring Xiao Chen and damaging her wooden hut. Now that she heard the meaning behind Xiao Chang's words, it was clear that he wanted to let go of this matter and focus on the experiential training in Gloomy Forest 7 days later. Xiao Yulan was somewhat dissatisfied. Xiao Chang muttered, "Yesterday the 3rd elder already sent people to the Tang clan. Now that there are many things happening, it is not suitable for us to start a war with the Tang clan. Yulan, don't mention this matter again." Xiao Yulan curled her lips and did not say anything. In her heart, she felt indignant at her father's words. With regards to the 1st elder's words, Xiao Qin agreed with him. From the moment the blue-clothed man suddenly appeared in 7-Horn Mountain and walked together with the Zhang clan. Now the Tang clan suddenly broke their agreement with the Shao clan and entered Seven-Horn Mountain en masse to capture the six-tailed spirit fox. There was also that mysterious girl, Feng Feishua. Connecting all these together, the small Mo city was indeed not as peaceful as it looked on the surface. The situation was clearly not in the Shao clan's favor. Thus, he did not think of immediately seeking revenge on the Tang clan. Firstly, he was not strong enough. Without the Shao clan's help, his hopes of shaking the Tang clan were very slim. Secondly, although the Tang clan's operation had nearly forced Xiao Chen into a dead end, in the end, he did not suffer any losses. Furthermore, he had completely ruined their operation. However, the Tang clan's operation this time resulted in heavy losses. 2 elders and the Tang clan's first young master died tragically. The precious spirit blood jade also fell into Xiao Chen's hands. Their meticulously designed capture plan had completely failed. In the past, the 2 clans did not interfere with each other's business. This time, however, they were about to completely fall out with each other. However, the situation in front of them was very delicate. The 2 clans would probably control their emotions and not act rashly. Chapter 45. Although Xiaoyulan was dissatisfied in her heart, she was not an unreasonable person. Seeing that Xiao Chang was firm in his decision, she did not say anything else. After the 3 of them had lunch, Xiao Chen rejected their request to go down the mountain with them and made up a reason. He only said that he had just advanced to medial grade martial disciple and that the qi in his body was not stable, so he needed to recuperate for a period of time. After most martial disciples advanced, they would recuperate for a period of time. This was not a strange thing, so Xiao Chang did not force Xiao Chen. He only requested that he return before the sky turned dark. Actually, Xiao Chen did not need to recuperate. His advancement to medial grade martial disciple could be said to be a natural and smooth process. He did not forcefully advance, so he did not need to deliberately recuperate. The reason why he did not go down the mountain with Xiaoyulan was because he wanted to gather more herbs before he left. It was rare for him to come to Seven-Horn Mountain, so naturally Xiao Chen would not return so easily. After Xiaoyulan and Xiao Chang were far away, Xiao Chen immediately went out and strolled all over the mountain. Using his spiritual sense, not a single spirit herb could escape his detection. Because of the Tang clan, Seven-Horn Mountain had been sealed off the previous day. At this moment there were very few people on the mountain. Even the places that were usually crowded were now empty. Xiao Chen could also use the lightning evasion without worry. Once he discovered a good spirit herb, he would immediately fly over. If it grew on a cliff, he would use the gravity spell to fly up. Using both methods at the same time, there were no spirit herbs that Xiao Chen could discover that he could not pick. However, when Xiao Chen picked herbs, he also abided by his principles. He did not pick herbs below grade 2, herbs that were not fully matured, herbs that were not old enough, or seedlings. These were the principles that a herbalist had to abide by. If the Seven-Horn Mountain range were to be harvested indiscriminately, the entire Seven-Horn Mountain range would dry up and become a dead mountain in less than 3 years. When the sun set, Xiao Chen's universe ring was filled with all sorts of medicinal herbs. 10-year grade 4 snow ginseng, 20-year grade 3 wind spirit grass, 20-year grade 8 octagonal lotus. Xiao Chen grinned with satisfaction. With the help of his divine sense and the lightning evasion technique and gravity technique, his harvest today was equivalent to half a year's harvest for an ordinary person. Furthermore, there were some rare medicinal herbs that ordinary people would never be able to discover if they did not have a spiritual sense. This benefited Xiao Chen. It's time to go down the mountain. If we don't, we'll have to spend the night here again, Xiao Chen muttered. He returned to the Xiao Manor without any accidents. When he arrived at his courtyard, Xiao Chen felt like he had returned home. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. Do I, Xiao Chen, really have a home in this world? Second young master, are you back? The moment Xiao Chen stepped through the gates, he heard Bao Er's joyful voice. It was already close to dusk. Bao Er was sweeping the fallen leaves on the ground. When she saw Xiao Chen return, she quickly put down what she was doing and ran over. Her face was filled with unconcealable joy. Xiao Chen felt warmth in his heart. He smiled faintly and said, "Yes, I'm back. How have you been?" Bao Er was very happy in her heart. She told Xiao Chen everything that had happened in the Xiao residence in the past few days. They were all trivial matters. Although Xiao Chen was not very interested, he did not stop Bao Er. After all, the days in the mountains were too lonely. Now that he heard someone chattering by his ear, he found it a kind of joy. "That's right, young master, you must be hungry. I'll make you some fish porridge." Bao Er seemed to have thought of something. She quickly said goodbye to Xiao Chen and headed for the kitchen. The effects of the fasting pill had not passed yet. Xiao Chen was not hungry. It was just that he had not been in contact with oil for the past few days. He was filled with anticipation for Bao Er's cooking. When he returned to his room, Xiaoqin took out all the herbs in the universe ring and prepared to categorize them. Hua! A large pile of herbs appeared out of nowhere. They took up most of the empty space in the room. Xiaoqin frowned slightly. It was not easy to categorize so many herbs. This was a blissful problem. However, no matter how difficult it was, he had to figure it out. Otherwise, it would be very inconvenient to use them in the future. Xiaoqin first categorized the herbs according to their attributes into 5 categories. Those that replenished qi and blood were categorized into 1 category. Those that healed injuries were categorized into 1 category. Those that nourished one's body were categorized into 1 category. Those that could directly increase one's cultivation were categorized into 1 category. The last category was categorized into 1 category. After that, Xiaoqin carefully categorized these 5 categories based on their grades. After he took out the spirit herbs that he needed, he divided them into different areas in the universe ring and placed them back in their original positions. After he was done with everything, Xiaoqian's forehead was covered in sweat. At this moment, there was the sound of footsteps coming from outside the door. Xiaoqian quickly released his spiritual sense. If someone discovered that he had so many herbs, he would not be able to explain himself. When he used his spiritual sense to check, he discovered that it was Bao Er carrying the fish porridge over. He relaxed. When Bao Er entered and saw the herbs on the floor, she understood what Xiaoqin wanted to do. She knew that she could not disturb him. She smiled gently and placed the fish porridge on the table before she took her leave. After sending Bao Er off, Xiaoqin returned to his room. He was immediately attracted by the fragrance of the fish porridge. He picked up his bowl and chopsticks and started eating happily. Pu Tong. Suddenly, the infant 6-tailed spirit fox jumped out of the spirit blood jade. It looked pitifully at Xiaoqin, who was eating happily. Its white tail wagged around and its eyes were misty. It was as pitiful as it could be. Ever since he signed a blood contract with this infant spirit fox, it had not eaten anything. Xiaoqin only cared about eating the fasting pill and completely ignored the feelings of the infant spirit fox. At this moment, the infant spirit fox must be very hungry. Xiaoqin smiled awkwardly and brought the bowl to the infant spirit fox. You want to eat too? Never mind, you can have it. The infant spirit fox stuck out its tongue and licked the bowl a few times. After that, it stopped moving. It raised its head and looked pitifully at Xiaoqin. The meaning in its eyes was clear. This thing was not to her taste. Xiaoqin could not help but feel anxious. He knew very little about the feeding of spirit beasts. He did not know what to do with the current situation. What if this infant spirit fox starved to death? That would be a great sin. In his anxiety, Xiaoqin thought of the worst. Idiot. It was unknown when the Tsundra sword spirit had appeared behind Xiaoqin. When Xiaoqin saw her, he could not help but see some hope. As for her calling him an idiot, he automatically ignored it. Tsundra sister, do you know what exactly this spirit fox eats? Idiot, this infant spirit fox is only a month old. Of course it drinks milk. Otherwise, what do you think it eats? When others sign a blood contract, they will wait until their infant spirit fox is 3 months old. You, on the other hand, signed a blood contract before a month has passed. So, there is such a saying, Xiaoqin thought. However, the situation was urgent and he had no other choice. If he had not used the spirit blood jade, it would have been snatched away by Lu Fenglin. Xiaoqin's gaze unconsciously shifted to the Tsundra sword spirit's chest. Although this infant spirit fox was only a sword spirit, her chest seemed to be very full. I wonder if I can, damn it. Where did I think I went? Feeling Xiaoqin's gaze, the Tsundra sword spirit said angrily, Idiot, you hooligan, what are you looking at? Xiaoqin blushed and said awkwardly, It's a habit. It's purely a habit. No, it's not a habit. I just didn't pay attention. I didn't pay attention. Do you understand? The Tsundra sword spirit could not be bothered with him. She floated over and hugged the pitiful infant spirit fox. She extended her right index finger and gently placed it in the spirit fox's mouth. Chi-chi. Streams of pure energy gathered on the Tsundra sword spirit's index finger, giving off a milky white glow. Finally, this energy actually condensed into a milky white liquid. The little spirit fox seemed to have tasted the most delicious food in the world. It happily sucked and closed its eyes. There was a satisfied expression on its adorable face. How could this be? Xiaoqin looked at the scene in front of him incredulously. Naturally, he would not be stupid enough to think that the milky white liquid was that. This was clearly the energy of heaven and earth turning into a substance. If the Tsundra sword spirit wanted to, This pure energy could immediately turn into a destructive and invincible qi. Furthermore, it would be a solid qi. If a cultivator like Xiaoqin faced such a qi, he would not even need to wait for the qi to approach. The shockwave from the qi would be able to easily tear him to shreds without any resistance. Such strength meant that she was at least a martial monarch. It was no wonder that the Tsundra sword spirit had looked down on Xiaoqin. A martial monarch was already a national guardian in the Great Qin nation. National guardian, national guardian. What was national guardian? Using the strength of a single person to suppress mountains and rivers for thousands of kilometers, this was a national guardian. In the Great Qin nation, there were 3 prefectures, 9 provinces and 72 counties. There were tens of thousands of kilometers of beautiful mountains and rivers. On the surface there were only 10 national guardians. Could this girl in front of him be a national guardian? Is she really just an insignificant sword spirit? After a while, the milky white light finally stopped. The Tsundra sword spirit withdrew her index finger and her body swayed in the air. She was clearly weak, but the expression on her face was one of gratification. "Hey, Sister Tsundra, are you alright?" Xiaoqin asked worriedly when he saw how weak she was. The milky white light that the cub had absorbed earlier did not seem to be much. In reality, it contained a vast amount of spiritual energy. If a regular cultivator absorbed it, they would be able to raise their cultivation by an entire cultivation realm. With such exhaustion, Xiaoqin was afraid that she would not be able to endure it. The Tsundra sword spirit shook her head and said, "I'm fine. The energy that it absorbed earlier was enough for it to last for 3 months. After that, I can feed it meat porridge." "This little fellow has not given it a name yet, right? Why don't you give it one?" The Tsundra sword spirit suddenly thought of this problem. Xiaoqin thought for a while and said, "Is this little fellow a boy or a girl?" "No, that's not right. Is it male or female?" "Idiot, there is no need for you to give it a name. Just call it Bai," the Tsundra sword spirit said hatefully. Bai, Xiaoqin muttered to himself. This name should be a girl. Doesn't that mean she will be a vixen in the future? Damn it, what am I thinking of again? Chapter 46. After settling Bai's matter, Xiaoqin took out the blue dragon medicine cauldron and started to refine the medicine. Ao Jiao teased Bai at the side, showing no intention of avoiding him. Xiaoqin sighed. In the future he would not be able to hide any secrets in front of Ao Jiao. This was something that could not be helped. Ao Jiao's strength was much higher than her master's. Even if he wanted to resist, he had no chance of winning. However, he had a feeling that although this little girl's words were not pleasant to hear, she was not a scheming person. She would not do anything to harm him. Under certain circumstances, she would even help him solve some problems. Just like Bai's feeding problem, she spent a lot of effort to produce those few drops of milky white heaven and earth essence. Shaking his head, Xiaoqin tossed all these messy thoughts to the back of his mind. He started to concentrate on refining medicine. Now, he wanted to refine a new type of medicinal pill for treating injuries and a type of explosive medicinal pill. His experience at Seven Horn Mountain made him realize that injuries were unavoidable in battle. If he had a pill that could quickly heal his injuries, he would not have ended up in such a sorry state during the battle. As for the explosive type of pill, it was a pill that could temporarily increase a person's strength. When necessary, it could be used to launch a counterattack. These 2 pills were the blood-replenishing pill and the cloud-swallowing pill. The latter pill had extremely strong side effects. Although it was very effective for a short period of time, it would cause great damage to the body after the effects wore off. Xiaoqin refined these 2 pills to protect his life. As long as he did not use them frequently, they would not leave behind long-term hidden dangers in his body. Compared to the similar pills on the continent, their effects were much better. Xiaoqin took out the herbs that he had prepared earlier. The green spiritual core in his sea of consciousness followed his spiritual sense and entered the herbs. He could clearly see the internal structure of the herbs. With a piu sound, a purple flame rose up from his palm. Xiaoqin focused all his attention, not daring to be distracted at all. These 2 pills were not very high ranked in the compendium of cultivation. Thus, it was not particularly difficult to refine them. With the help of his spiritual sense and spiritual sense, Xiaoqin could refine them with ease. Soon, a fragrance came from the medicine cauldron. The first pill was successfully refined. Xiaoqin revealed a satisfied smile. He took out a porcelain bottle and stored the blood-replenishing pill inside. "Stupid master, I couldn't tell that you know how to refine medicine. Furthermore, this method of refining medicine is different from the ones on the continent." Ao Jiao looked at Xiaoqin in astonishment. Earlier, because she was afraid of disturbing Xiaoqin's refinement, she did not say anything. Hearing Ao Jiao's words, Xiaoqin felt a sense of pride in his heart. He smiled and said, "You are underestimating me. You are not the only one. I know this." Ao Jiao snorted and said, "You only know a little and you are already so cocky. I think you do not know the immensity of heaven and earth." What did she mean by only knowing a little? Xiaoqin used the alchemy techniques in the compendium of cultivation. His success rate for rank 3 and below was over 90%. He was many times better than the ordinary alchemists on the continent. Xiaoqin said with some dissatisfaction, "If you have the ability, then refine a pill that is exactly the same as this one for me to see." Ao Jiao was stunned for a moment. Her cute face looked like she had seen something extremely funny. She was clearly astonished. After a while she smiled coldly and said, "If I refine it, what will you do? There has to be some sort of reward." "Deal. If you succeed, you can make any request of me. If you fail, you are not allowed to call me an idiot," Xiaoqin said without thinking. Xiaoqin was rather confident in his alchemy skills. Even if Ao Jiao really knew how to refine pills, she had only seen it once and did not know the recipe. There was no way she could succeed. Ao Jiao said, "You really do not know the immensity of heaven and earth. I will teach you a lesson today. Otherwise, when you go out and get beaten to death, you will not even know how you died." After Ao Jiao spoke, she flicked her fingers 3 times and 3 white flames appeared out of nowhere. They floated quietly in the air. Her hands moved continuously and the herbs on the table all flew into the air under her control. For a moment it was very dazzling. Xiaoqin actually thought of the fancy bartenders he saw in bars in his previous life. They seemed to be like this as well, gorgeous and dazzling. Xiaoqin, who had been watching from the side, consoled himself, "There is no need to worry. She is definitely playing around by making such a dazzling display. Alchemy is a very serious matter." So. Ao Jiao's hands moved like lightning. Among the herbs flying in the air, she accurately found the first 3 herbs that needed to be calcined. She flicked them into the 3 flames. The 3 flames each calcined a herb, giving off a zzz sound. Ao Jiao was not done yet. She changed her hand gestures again and the herbs that were about to fall floated into the air again. Dong, dong, dong. Ao Jiao was multitasking. It was unknown when 3 porcelain bottles appeared in her left hand. She accurately caught the medicinal liquid that dripped from the flames. She flicked her right hand a few more times and the 3 white flames started to calcine the remaining 3 different medicinal liquids. After a while, the 6 medicinal pills needed for the blood replenishing pill were completely calcined. Xiaoqin watched all this in astonishment. At this moment he finally understood Ao Jiao's intentions. This was an extreme alchemy technique that pursued speed. Xiaoqin already found it difficult to use 1 flame to calcine the medicinal liquid. However, Ao Jiao was able to use 3 flames to calcine the medicinal liquid at the same time. This was something that Xiaoqin did not even dare to think about. Ao Jiao's control over the flames had already reached a daunting level. Xiaoqin knew that he was going to lose today's bet. However, he did not feel that it was a pity. Being able to observe such exquisite and peerless alchemy techniques was also an excellent learning opportunity for him. Indeed, it was as he expected. Ao Jiao executed the remaining steps smoothly. There were no mistakes or pauses. However, at the final step, during the process of nourishing the medicinal pill, Ao Jiao's face suddenly revealed an extremely weak expression. A soft explosion came from within the blue dragon medicine cauldron. The refinement of this medicinal pill actually failed. It failed at the most impossible step. Xiaoqin thought to himself that he was lucky. Soon he thought of the reason for Ao Jiao's failure. Earlier, Ao Jiao condensed the essence of heaven and earth to feed by. She had exhausted too much essence. She did not rest for long before she started refining the medicinal pill again. Her essence could no longer support the last step. How is this possible? Ao Jiao was in disbelief as she looked at the dregs flowing out of the dragon's mouth. She actually did not succeed. Xiaoqin coughed and said, "That? Sister Ao Jiao, do you mean what you said?" Ao Jiao's face turned red as she said, "Bastard, I will not call you an idiot in the future." After she said that, she entered the universe ring. When Bai saw Ao Jiao suddenly disappear, he was confused. He jumped around trying to find where Ao Jiao was hiding. However, after searching for a long time, he could not find her. He looked at Xiaoqin anxiously. When Xiaoqin saw Bai's appearance, he smiled and said, "There is no need to look for her. Your mother is hiding." For the next 2 days, Xiaoqin did not go out. He stayed in his room, continuously refining medicinal pills. Aside from the 2 new medicinal pills, Xiaoqin did not go out at all. Aside from the 2 new medicinal pills, he also refined quite a few of the 3 medicinal pills that he refined earlier. After all, he was not lacking in ingredients and did not need to go out and buy them. Aside from refining medicinal pills, Xiaoqin spent the rest of his time researching the usage of the Purple Thunder True Fire. He tried to increase the penetrative power of the Purple Thunder True Fire, and the results were very obvious. The Purple Thunder True Fire could already penetrate through 2 feet of essence iron without exploding. 2 days later, early in the morning, Xiaoqin changed into the black cloak once again. He stored all the moonstones that he had left at home into the universe ring and left the Xiao residence, heading towards Mo City. The city was as bustling as before. Although Xiaoqian's attire was a little strange, it did not attract any attention. He walked unhurriedly towards Linlang Pavilion. Aside from retrieving the money he earned from the auction, the more important reason he came out today was to forge a new spirit weapon. When his figure appeared at the entrance of Linlang Pavilion, one of the guards at the entrance wanted to stop him when he saw his strange attire. At this moment, someone at the side quickly stopped his companion. "Senior, you are finally here. Our pavilion master has been waiting for you for a long time." Xiaoqin was somewhat surprised that someone at the entrance actually recognized him. After carefully sizing him up, he realized that it was Gao Long, who he had injured the other day. "It's you. Since you know him, then help me pass a message," Xiaoqin said indifferently. I'll go immediately. Quickly bring this esteemed guest to the inner pavilion." Gao Long quickly nodded and said. Because of the incident with Xiaoqin, he had been demoted to a guard. Now that he saw Xiaoqin again, he naturally did not dare to be negligent. Before he left, he instructed his companions to bring Xiaoqin to the inner pavilion. Although the people beside Gao Long did not recognize Xiaoqin, seeing Gao Long's cautious attitude, they did not dare to be careless. They quickly led Xiaoqin in. After entering the Great Hall, Xiaoqin discovered that the number of people he saw this time was more than double the previous time. The Great Hall could be said to be packed with people. It was difficult to move even an inch. Secretly circulating his essence, Xiaoqin's body nimbly avoided the few people who bumped into him. Among these people there were quite a few who purposely bumped into him. Xiaoqin saw everything clearly and guessed the identity of these people. They should be some skilled thieves. They were very confident in their skills and actually came to Linlang Pavilion to fish in troubled waters. The few thieves tried to get close to Xiaoqin a few times but to no avail. They knew that they had met a tough opponent and wisely made a decision. They no longer purposely got close to him. In the inner pavilion, Xiaoqin drank his tea as he quietly waited for Nangong Yan's arrival. However, he had some doubts in his heart. Today, Linlang Pavilion seemed to have an unreasonable number of people. However, it was not the end of the month and there was no auction being held. Xiaoqin put down his teacup and asked the attendant beside him, "What day is it today? Why are there so many people in Linlang Pavilion?" The attendant knew that Xiaoqin was the esteemed guest of the pavilion master. He did not dare to be negligent and replied, "Today." Before he finished speaking, there was a hearty laughter coming from outside the inner pavilion. The attendant quickly stopped what he was saying and retreated from the inner pavilion. This was because Nangong Yan had already arrived. The following conversation was not something that he could listen to. "Little friend, you are finally here. This old man has been waiting for you to come for the past few days." Chapter 47. Haha, I never thought that the pavilion master would think so highly of a junior. Xiaoqin's face was completely hidden under the cloak. Others could not see his expression. Nangong Yan took out a stack of banknotes and handed it over. "This is the money from the previous auction. There is a total of 1 million taels of silver." There was actually 1 million taels of silver? This was out of Xiaoqin's expectations. He received the banknotes without batting an eyelid. Xiaoqin said, "It is just a fasting pill and it actually sold for 1 million taels of silver. Linlang Pavilion truly lives up to its name." Nangong Yan smiled and said, "This fasting pill is a new pill. I have never heard of it before. Furthermore, it has a unique effect. Furthermore, with the help of my Linlang Pavilion, it is normal for it to sell for 1 million taels of silver. If this was the imperial capital's Linlang Pavilion, the price would be doubled. I wonder if little friend brought anything to auction this time?" When Xiaoqin heard this, he took out a blood-replenishing pill, a qi-returning pill and an essence-nurturing pill. After that, he placed them on the table and introduced the effects of these pills. "Pavilion Master Nangong, please state your starting bid for these 3 pills." Nangong Yan was very happy. These 3 pills were brand new pills. Although there were similar pills in the continent, he was certain that the recipes for the pills in the continent were different from these 3 pills. When Xiaoqin brought the fasting pill previously, he had studied it carefully. Although he was unable to decipher the recipe, It gave him a lot of inspiration. This made him, who had been standing at the peak of a Tier 7 alchemist for many years, overjoyed. This time Xiaoqin brought 3 different pills. His alchemy realm would definitely have a breakthrough. Only one? Nangong Yen asked suspiciously when he saw that Xiaoqin had no intention of taking out more pills. If there was only one of each pill, it would not be easy. Sometimes, when he was researching, he would accidentally damage the pill. If he wanted to research it again, it would be troublesome. In truth, Xiaoqin's original intention was not to even take out a single medicinal pill. However, considering that he had once been here and had received some help, he took out 3 medicinal pills each and put them up for auction. He didn't have much desire for money. If it wasn't for the fact that he had a special need for it, it would be best if he kept all the pills he refined for himself. After thinking for a while, Xiaoqin decided to tell the truth and said, "Pavilion Master Nangong, I'm actually not interested in bidding at the moment. If Pavilion Master needs them, I can give these 3 pills to you." Nangong Yen shook his head and smiled. "You have misunderstood my meaning. With this old man's cultivation, these 3 pills would not be of much use. Do you know what day it is today?" "What day?" Xiaoqin also wanted to know the answer. If Nangong Yen had not arrived, the attendant would have already told him the answer. However, it was not too late for Nangong Yen to tell him now. Nangong Yen smiled gently. "I believe that little friend has discovered that there are a lot of people in our pavilion today. This afternoon, our pavilion will be holding our annual large-scale auction ahead of schedule. So that's why. No wonder there are so many people here." Xiaoqin suddenly understood. Every year, Linlang Pavilion's large-scale auction was a grand event in Mo City. It was reasonable for so many people to appear. However, Xiaoqin remembered that large-scale auctions were usually held at the end of the year. It was not even the middle of the year yet. Why were they holding a large-scale auction already? Nangong Yen seemed to have noticed the doubts in Xiaoqin's heart and said, "This is because this old man will be going to the imperial capital at the end of the month. Thus, before I leave, I want to hold a large-scale auction." Imperial capital? The old man in front of me is indeed not an ordinary person, Xiaoqin thought to himself. From the first time he saw this person, he felt an unprecedented pressure. This kind of pressure was much stronger than when he faced Lu Fengyin. In front of him, he felt as though he was being seen through. This person's position in the Nangong clan was definitely not simple. Xiaoqin did not know why he was going to the imperial capital. However, this had nothing to do with Xiaoqin, so there was no need to think too much about it. Unfortunately, the world was like a game of chess, unfathomable. Xiaoqin, who was under the cloak, did not know that the old man in front of him was going to the imperial capital. What the old man was doing was not only related to him, but it was also related to him greatly. Xiaoqin's face under the cloak was completely hidden in the shadows. Nangong Yen could not see Xiaoqin's expression and could not help but feel disappointed. He continued to say, "Thus, I would like to ask little friend to take out a few more pills to put up for auction. As the finale of this auction, I would like to save some face for this old man." Hearing these words, Xiaoqin found it somewhat funny. If it was someone else who said this, saying that they wanted his pills to save face, he might have believed them. However, if an important person of the Nangong clan actually said that he wanted these pills to save face, then he was thinking too highly of Xiaoqin. Xiaoqin was very clear on how useful these pills were. The Nangong clan was one of the 4 great clans of the Great Qin Empire. The clan head, Nangong Lai, was a martial monarch expert. Among the 10 great generals of the Great Qin Empire, he was ranked 2nd. Even if these pills were at the peak, they would only be equivalent to rank 4 pills in the continent. To the Nangong clan they were not even worth mentioning. It was clear that the old man in front of Xiaoqin had an extraordinary position in the Nangong clan. He had countless rare treasures in his hands. Why would he be lacking in rank 4 pills? It was clear that he wanted these pills for himself. The old man in front of him should be an alchemist. This was what Xiaoqin's intuition told him as an alchemist. Furthermore, he was of a very high rank. He could tell that the pills that Xiaoqin refined were different from the traditional method of refining pills. Hence, he wanted more for his own research. This was the reason why Xiaoqin gave him 3 pills. However, he was not satisfied. It was even possible that he had already bought all the pills that Xiaoqin put up for auction previously. Xiaoqin did not say anything. He placed his hand in his bosom to disguise it. After that, he took out 3 porcelain bottles from his universe ring and removed the caps. The fragrance of blood-replenishing pills, qi-returning pills, and essence-nurturing pills instantly spread out. Xiaoqin said, "Pavilion Master Nangong, we are straightforward people and will not beat around the bush. You just want these pills, right? There are 20 pills in each porcelain bottle. Just tell me what you can use to exchange for them." Xiao Qin was not lacking in money. However, he believed that Nangong Yen definitely had treasures that could interest him. Hence, he might as well take this opportunity to extort some money from him. Nangong Yan's smiling face suddenly changed. A look of astonishment flashed in his eyes. His gaze was like a saber as he stared at Xiao Qin. Although Nangong Yen did not use any strength, he did not even release any of his aura. He simply stared at Xiao Qin, causing Xiao Qin to feel as though he was sitting on pins and needles. Under the cloak, Xiao Qin did his best to remain calm. He sank his consciousness and stabilized his trembling body. However, sweat continued to pour down his back. "Ah, young man, you are very bold. Are you not afraid that I will kill you and snatch away all these things?" Nangong Yen suddenly laughed. The pressure on Xiao Qin also disappeared. "You won't. It is because I cannot feel any killing intent from you. Furthermore, the last time I walked out of this place, your pavilion did not send anyone to follow me. That is why I dared to come again." Xiao Qin calmed down and said unhurriedly. When Nangong Yen heard this, he smiled and said, "You are very courageous and smart. It is indeed this old man who wants these pills of yours. Your straightforward character is quite to my liking." After Nangong Yen said this, he paused for a while. He got up and paced back and forth a few steps before saying, "It is hard to say how much these pills of yours are worth. To those who are knowledgeable, it would be a sky-high price. To those who are not knowledgeable, they are merely rank 4 pills." Xiao Qin nodded his head and did not deny it. He smiled and said, "That pavilion master Nangong is clearly someone knowledgeable. I wonder what kind of sky-high price he will offer." Nangong Yen smiled and said, "Little demon, stop playing word games with me. Although I really need these pills, I cannot guarantee that I will be able to discover anything useful. Little friend, can you introduce me to your master?" Seeing that Nangong Yen suddenly changed the topic, Xiao Qin's face immediately sank. He said, "My master likes peace and quiet. He will not meet outsiders. I have already said this the last time. If Pavilion Master does not need these pills, then I will take my leave." After Xiao Qin spoke, he got up and walked out of the door. This was Xiao Qin's bottom line. How could he have a master? All the pills were refined by himself. If this was exposed, Nangong Yen would definitely put him under house arrest. Nangong Yen hurriedly stopped Xiao Qin and pulled him back. "I was just speaking casually. Little friend, don't worry. I will definitely buy these pills. How about this? I will not be a spendthrift and will not let you suffer a loss. How about this? In the afternoon's auction, you can choose any 3 items. Regardless of the price, our Linlang Pavilion will pay for it." The reason why Nangong Yen said this was because he knew that Xiao Qin would definitely not use the silver banknotes. Otherwise, he would directly use the pills to auction. However, Nangong Yen was somewhat reluctant to take out some valuable treasures. After all, the true value of these pills was only a rank 4 pill. In the end, he thought of a cheap way to satisfy Xiao Qin's wishes. He also did not need to part with his treasures, he only needed to fork out some money. Furthermore, he had already seen the list of items to be auctioned. Although there were many good items, they were not able to move his heart. It could be said that he would not suffer a loss. Xiao Qin quickly analyzed Nangong Yan's words and quickly understood what Nangong Yan was planning. He could not help but curse in his heart, "This old fox is really cunning." However, he immediately thought of a countermeasure and said, "Can I take a look at the list of items to be auctioned?" This request was not excessive. Normally, an auction would send out the list of items to be auctioned in advance. They would also list out the main items and the finale items. This was mainly to attract the guests who came to the auction. Although Nangong Yen was unwilling, he still took out a list of items to be auctioned and handed it to Xiao Qin. "In this large-scale auction, there are many good items. You will definitely not be disappointed." Xiao Qin took the list and looked at it carefully. After looking through it, he quickly made a decision. He smiled and said, "It is decided. I will choose 3 items to be auctioned. These pills will belong to Pavilion Master." Chapter 48. Linlang Pavilion, in the VIP booth on the 4th floor of the auction house. Xiao Qin stood in front of the window and looked down. The seats in the hall were already filled with people. There was a hubbub of voices and discussions. The auctioneer had already taken his place. Xiao Qin said to the universe ring, "Sister Ao Jiao, you were the one who told me to agree to that old man. Why aren't you saying anything now?" Earlier, when Xiao Qin had just received the auction list, before he could finish looking through it, Ao Jiao's voice resounded in his mind. She was telling him to agree to Nangong Yan's suggestion. "I told you to agree, so just agree. Do you think I will let you suffer a loss?" Ao Jiao floated out from the ring and said unhappily. When Xiao Qin saw her running out so casually, he was startled. He said, "Hey, why did you run out? What if there are people watching us?" Ao Jiao said, "If I don't want people to see me, no one can see me. Furthermore, there are no people watching us. You are worrying too much. That old man already took the pill and ran off somewhere." Xiaoqin relaxed and said, "The auction is about to start. You can now say which 3 items you want to bid for." "What's the rush? I will inform you when the time comes. I will go out and take a look." After Ao Jiao spoke, she leaped out of the window and flew out. When Xiaoqin saw Ao Jiao jump down like that, he was so angry that he wanted to curse. If he were to jump down, he would beat this damn brat up. Unfortunately, not to mention whether he could defeat her or not, Xiaoqin did not dare to jump down like that. There were thousands of people in the hall below. If he jumped down like that, he would immediately become the target of attention. Despite Xiaoqin's resentment, the auction continued. The first item was a rank 4 fire-attributed spirit core. In most auctions, the first item to be auctioned would not be too good or too bad. If it was too good, it would cause the expectations of the people below to be too high. If it was not able to bring out a pleasant surprise, it would cause them to be extremely disappointed. It would be even more impossible if the item was too poor. It would directly lower the quality of the auction, and people would think that there was nothing good to offer. Impatient customers might even leave immediately. The first item was a rank 4 fire-attributed spirit core. It was an item that was neither too good nor too bad. Although it was not a precious item, it was still rare in Mo City. The spirit cores of the continent were mainly used to refine medicine. The method that Xiaoqin learned was different from that of the continent. Thus, Xiaoqin did not care about this spirit core. However, just as Xiaoqin was feeling dispirited, the auctioneer suddenly said, "Chen, everyone, this spirit core is not an ordinary spirit beast, but the spirit core of a spirit. For people who practice fire-attributed cultivation techniques, it can directly raise the might of their flames by a level. Its value is not something that a regular spirit beast can compare to. The starting price is 500,000 silver taels. The auction will begin now. Each bid must not be lower than 50,000 silver taels." After the auctioneer finished his introduction, the atmosphere in the hall became lively. No one expected that such a precious item would appear right at the start of the auction. 600,000 silver taels, 700,000 silver taels, 900,000 silver taels. Very quickly there were people bidding. The price of this spirit core of the spirit core of the spirit core reached 1,000,000 silver taels. Xiaoqin noticed that the person in the VIP booth opposite him was calling out the fiercest bids. Every time he would immediately follow up, appearing to be in a hurry. From Xiaoqin's angle, he could not see the situation in the booth opposite him. However, this was not a problem for Xiaoqin. He extended his spiritual sense and the situation inside immediately appeared in Xiaoqin's eyes. There were 5 cultivators in the private room. Only a young man wearing an embroidered robe was sitting there. The others were standing beside him with a respectful look on their faces. That youth should be the young master of some clan, and the people behind him should be his followers. Out of the 4 followers, 3 of them were superior grade martial disciples. The last one was actually an inferior grade martial master. Xiaoqin thought to himself, who is this youth? Even his followers are so strong. Why have I never seen them before? Second young master, I heard that this spirit core of the spirit beast is the purest fire-attributed spirit beast in the world. Its spirit core is the essence of its entire body. It will definitely be of great help to your cultivation technique. The handsome face of the youth in embroidered robes revealed a faint smile. There was a rare calmness in his eyes. He smiled and said, the way you speak, it is as if I have already won the bid for this spirit core. Another follower smiled and said, in Mo City in terms of strength the Xiao clan might be the strongest. However, in terms of wealth, who can surpass our Tang clan? Furthermore, the promise of 10 years is approaching. Once the Xiao clan falls, our Tang clan will be the undisputed #1 clan in Mo City. The Tang clan's second young master smiled faintly and did not deny it. His eyes revealed a proud expression as he clenched his fist and said, I must obtain this spirit core of the rainbow flame python. Bid me 2,000,000 silver taels. So he is from the Tang clan. No wonder he is so rich and overbearing, Xiaoqin thought to himself. In the past few years, the Tang clan had made use of the conflict between the Xiao clan and the Zhang clan to amass an uncountable amount of wealth. This Tang clan's second young master was called Tang Feng. The Tang clan had always kept a low profile. It was not strange that Xiaoqin did not recognize him at first glance. The moment Tang Feng spoke, the follower immediately took out a bidding card and gently peeked it out of the window. The bidding card with red words on a white background was exceptionally eye-catching. When the auctioneer below saw it, he immediately said excitedly, "VIP room 13 bids 2 million silver taels. 2 million silver taels. Is there any higher bid than 2 million silver taels? This is the spirit core of the rainbow flame python. Is there no one else? Even in the entire Great Qi nation, this kind of spirit core is extremely rare." The auctioneer called out a few more times. Seeing that there was still no one raising the bid, he started to slowly explain the rarity of this spirit core. However, there was no one raising the bid. Although this spirit core was rare, it could only increase the strength of fire-attributed cultivators. It would not be of much help to cultivators of other attributes. If it was not a fire-attributed cultivator, spending 2 million silver taels on it would not be worth it. Hence, there was no one raising the bid. 2 million silver taels going once. 2 million silver taels going twice. When the auctioneer saw that there was no one raising the bid, he gave up on explaining and started the final countdown. The Tang clan's second young master revealed a pleased smile. A rank 4 spirit core for 2 million silver taels. In the entire Mo city, he was the only one who could pay such a price. 2 million silver taels going thrice. Just as the auctioneer was about to count thrice, his expression suddenly became excited. He said loudly, "Look, someone in VIP room 11 has bid 5 million silver taels. 5 million silver taels. Is there any higher bid than 5 million silver taels?" The auctioneer of the Glittering Jewels Pavilion had obviously received excellent training. His words were always so tempting. When he heard someone bid 5 million silver taels, Tang Feng was stunned. He smiled coldly and said, "Bid 3 million silver taels. Every time the other party makes a bid, add another 500,000 silver taels. Let's see how long he can last." One of the attendants behind him said, "Second young master, that VIP room 11 seems to belong to the Xiao clan. I saw Xiao Jian come out from there earlier." Tang Feng's eyebrows twitched as he toyed with the wine cup in his hand. He smiled evilly. "Interesting. That Xiao Jian seems to cultivate a fire-attributed cultivation technique. All the more reason why we cannot let him obtain it." Xiao Qin did not have much interest in this rainbow flame python spirit core. The attribute of the purple thunder divine incantation that he cultivated was lightning. Consuming this spirit core would not be of much benefit to him. As for his purple thunder true fire, it was a lightning-attributed fire. It was different from regular flames. If he wanted to raise the might of the purple thunder true fire, he would have to consume lightning-attributed lightning and not a fire-attributed spirit core. However, with the atmosphere of the auction and the two booths raising the bid, the price of the spirit core actually rose to 4 million silver taels. This made Xiao Qin feel that it was interesting. Who was so bold to actually pay such a high price to purchase such a spirit core? Xiao Qin sent his spiritual sense to VIP room 11. Soon, the situation in VIP room 11 appeared in front of him. After he saw it clearly, the corner of Xiao Qian's mouth curled up into a smile. He said indifferently, "No wonder the competition is so intense. So it is my big brother who wants this spirit core." In VIP room 11, Xiao Jian's forehead was already covered in sweat. Originally, he was determined to obtain the rainbow flame python spirit core. However, the current situation had greatly exceeded his expectations. Before the auction started, he had already seen the news of this spirit core on the auction list. This spirit core would be able to improve the quality of his fire cloud incantation. He immediately made a request to the first elder. When the first elder saw that the promise of 10 years was imminent and that Xiao Jian really needed this spirit core, he did not say anything and immediately transferred 4 million silver taels to him. With 4 million silver taels, he originally thought that obtaining a mere rank 4 spirit core would be a piece of cake. However, he did not expect to encounter such a situation. When he called out 2 million, Tang Feng immediately chased up to 5 million. When he called out 3 million, Tang Feng immediately increased it to 5 million without any hesitation. Xiao Jian, who had just called out 4 million, felt his heart thumping non-stop. This was already his limit. If the other party continued to increase the bid, he would not have any more chances. Please don't increase the bid anymore. If I do not have this rainbow flame python spirit core, how am I going to defeat that trash? Xiao Jian wiped his sweat as he said, "Furthermore, I recently heard that that trash is already a medial grade martial disciple. I must obtain this rainbow flame python spirit core." When Xiao Qin heard this, he could not help but laugh. He could not understand why Xiao Jian was still so cautious when facing a medial grade martial disciple, even though he was already a martial master. Could it be that the failure in the dueling grounds had left too much of a shadow on Xiao Jian? Chapter 49. 4,500,000 silver taels. Booth 13 bid 4,500,000 silver taels. Is there a higher bid? No matter how Xiao Jian prayed, the voice that he did not want to hear the most was called out by the auctioneer with a beaming smile. 4,500,000 silver taels, say it again. Is there a higher bid? The auctioneer's voice was filled with passion, enticing the people below. The people in the hall were all discussing this. No one expected the first item to be auctioned to be sold for a sky-high price of 4,500,000 silver taels. Within the booth, a mocking smile flashed on Tang Feng's face. He said, I was wondering how much he would bid. Only 5 million silver taels and he can't hold on anymore. How boring. How can their Xiao clan bid more than our Tang clan? Furthermore, the clan head trusts second young master so much this time. He even brought 10 million silver taels over. How could Xiao Jian compete with young master? One of Tang Feng's attendants flattered. A satisfied smile appeared on Tang Feng's face. He wondered how much his strength would increase after he obtained the inner core of the rainbow flame python. 4,500,000 silver taels, going thrice, success. When the auctioneer said this, he suddenly stopped. He revealed a pleasantly surprised smile and said, Quick look, the guest in booth 1 has bid. The auctioneer's words immediately attracted everyone's attention to booth 1 on the 4th floor. Tang Feng also frowned. Why is there someone else bidding? Don't be fooled by how relaxed he sounded earlier. Actually, the highest he could go was 5 million silver taels. Any higher and he would not be able to bid. This was because he still had to leave 5 million silver taels to bid for another item. That item was something that his father had personally instructed him to do. Thus he did not dare to be careless. He had to preserve his 5 million silver taels. He could not help but feel nervous. Tang Feng instructed one of his attendants, Go and see how much the other side is bidding. Not only was Tang Feng concerned about the bid from booth number 1, but the auctioneer was also more concerned about the bid from booth number 1. After all, the higher the auction item's price was, the higher the commission he would receive would be. Why did booth 1 only bid 1 million silver taels? Tang Feng's attendant asked, feeling it was strange. Tang Feng rejoiced in his heart. It seemed like this fellow was here to cause trouble. He would not be able to bid more than 4,500,000 silver taels. Now he could relax. However, the auctioneer below suddenly revealed a shocked expression. He opened his mouth wide and was speechless for a long time. My God. Oh. How is this possible? VIP booth 1's bid is 10 million gold taels. Tang Feng spat out a mouthful of wine and said in disbelief, Damn, how is this possible? 10 million gold taels. Even the 3 great clans of Mo City do not have so much money. It wasn't just Tang Feng who didn't believe it. Everyone in the Linlang Pavilion didn't believe it. What kind of concept was 1,000 taels of gold? 1 taels of gold was 10 million gold taels. 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 Taels of silver taels. Silver taels of gold taels. Silver taels. Gold taels. 1 gold taels. Even in the imperial capital, no one would casually offer 10 million taels of gold. This was such a large sum of money that ordinary people would never be able to earn so much money even if they spent hundreds of lifetimes. How is it possible for someone to spend so much money to buy a rank 4 inner core? He must be a swindler. I did not expect Linlang Pavilion to have such a swindler. Get that person to take out the gold taels. Who doesn't know how to talk big? The situation below the stage was in complete chaos. No one would believe that such a thing could happen in this small Mo city. They all thought that the person had run away after talking big. Tang Feng, who was in the booth, slowly calmed down after his anger. After thinking about it carefully, he felt that this was impossible. He was too nervous and should not have lost his composure. Second young master, I think that person is just talking big. I don't believe that he can really take out the 10 million taels of gold taels. The one who spoke was because he did not see Ling's attendant due to the angle. At this moment he was afraid that Tang Feng would vent his anger on him. The auctioneer did not expect such a situation to occur. Regarding the matter of booth 1, Nangong Yen had already informed him about it. No matter what price the other party offered, there would not be any problems. Seeing the chaotic situation, the auctioneer hurriedly said loudly, Everyone please calm down. Our Linlang Pavilion will definitely not allow swindlers to sneak in. What I want to say is that the guest in booth 1 is definitely able to afford this price. The auction will continue. Rest assured, our Linlang Pavilion will definitely hand over the 10 million taels of gold to you. Xiao Qin, who was in the booth, laughed softly. 10 million taels of gold, I do not have that much money. However, that old man Nangong should have it. As for how Nangong Yen would solve the problem without the 1,000 taels of gold, it was not within Xiao Chen's scope of consideration. Bang! On the other side, Tang Feng clenched his fist tightly, shattering the wine cup in his hand. His expression was terrifyingly gloomy. "The two of you go and guard outside the booth. I want to see who this fellow is, to be able to spend so much money." Xiao Jian, who was in booth 11, was similarly depressed. Even if Xiao Chen did not make a move, the rainbow flame python inner core would not belong to him. Xiao Jian pushed open the door of the booth and walked out dejectedly. He did not manage to buy what he wanted. He did not want to stay in this bustling auction any longer. In a secret room at the bottom of Linlang Pavilion, there were all sorts of medicinal herbs and all sorts of refining equipment. Just the medicinal cauldrons alone were there. Nangong Yen took out all the medicinal pills that he obtained from Xiao Chen. His eyes revealed a fanatical expression. These were his opportunity to advance to grade 8 divine grade alchemist. However, this was not a good time. With the equipment here, the results of his research on these medicinal pills were limited. If he wanted to truly understand the secrets of these medicinal pills, he would have to return to the Nangong clan's headquarters. Only the imperial capital had the necessary equipment. However, when he thought of returning to the imperial capital, Nangong Yan's eyes revealed an indescribable rage. Nangong Yan sighed, "It has already been 10 years, it is time to go back and take a look." The door to the secret room suddenly opened and two people wearing black robes appeared behind Nangong Yan. Nangong Yan turned around and looked at the two of them. "After I leave, you two start to keep a close eye on that black-clothed man. You must investigate him and the mysterious alchemist behind him." The two black-clothed men were martial grandmasters. They were death-sworn, trained by Linlang Pavilion, and specialized in carrying out shady missions. As for the missions that Nangong Yen gave them, it could be said that they would listen to him and would not resist at all. Nangong Yen muttered, "The ancient method of refining medicinal pills has been lost for thousands of years. I cannot miss out on this opportunity." Just as he was muttering to himself, a dangerous aura suddenly appeared. Nangong Yan's eyes lit up and he released his perception with all his might. "There is danger, be careful." The two martial grandmasters did not feel anything was wrong. When they heard this, they quickly put up their guard. They turned around and fixed their gazes on the stone door of the secret room. Suddenly, a petite figure descended from above the secret room. She held a short sword with both hands and appeared above the heads of the two black-clothed men. The petite figure moved in a ghostly manner in the air and the short sword gave off a resplendent glow. Wuxia. Blood spurted out from the necks of the two black-clothed men. They groaned in pain and fell to the ground. In the blink of an eye, the mysterious girl had easily killed the two martial grandmasters. Nangong Yen looked at the girl who had appeared. When he saw her true identity, his eyes were filled with astonishment. He said, "How can this be? A sword spirit actually left her body to kill people." Ao Jiao did not answer Nangong Yan's question. She released the two broken swords in her hands. The broken swords turned into a flash of light and ruthlessly flew towards the walls of the secret room. Bang! The sword stabbed into the wall and easily sank into it. Cracks appeared on the wall like a spider web. The cracks extended continuously and the entire secret room actually started to show signs of collapsing. Nangong Yen did not have the time to be astonished because Ao Jiao was already flying towards him. She was really flying towards him. She did not stay on the ground for even a moment. She carried an incomparably tyrannical aura as she flew over and ruthlessly sent a palm strike at him. Bang! In a hurry, Nangong Yen quickly sent out a palm strike and received Ao Jiao's unparalleled strike. The two palms collided. Nangong Yan's body was continuously pushed back. The table and the cabinets containing the herbs behind him were all smashed into pieces. Wuxia. The huge force from Ao Jiao's palm instantly shattered the essence that Nangong Yen had gathered. His body crashed into the wall with a loud boom, and he vomited a mouthful of blood. Nangong Yen had a pained expression on his face. Before he could say anything, he felt the force from Ao Jiao's palm increase again. With a loud boom, his entire body sank into the wall. Under the heavy palm strike, Nangong Yen felt his internal organs shift positions. He felt a sense of helplessness in his heart. Despite being a martial king, the person in front of him could not retaliate at all. This sword spirit is at least a medial grade martial monarch. In that case, how strong is her master? Nangong Yen thought in horror. However, he could not figure out which expert he had offended. Although he held a high position in the Great Qing nation, he was very low profile. This was especially so in the past 10 years. He had been living in seclusion and had never left Mo City. "May I ask who your master is? What kind of grudges do I have with him?" Nangong Yen asked in a hoarse voice. Even if he was going to die, he had to know the reason. The reply he got was an even more ferocious palm strike from Ao Jiao. Nangong Yen vomited another mouthful of blood and his body sank deeper into the wall. A human-shaped hole that was tens of meters wide appeared in the wall. It was formed when Nangong Yen was struck by an irresistible force. Suddenly Ao Jiao withdrew her palm. Nangong Yen felt his body freeze. He had no time to catch his breath. Ao Jiao had already grabbed him by the collar and brought him back to the secret room. Inside the secret room, the cracks in the wall where the short sword stabbed earlier were still spreading. Rocks kept falling from above. This secret room that was built underground was actually going to collapse. "Don't try to do what you just did. Never ever." After Ao Jiao said this, she quickly left in a flash. The horrified Nangong Yen finally knew who he had offended. He looked at the secret room that was about to collapse. He felt extremely pained in his heart. Most of the medicinal pills that he had refined over the past 10 years were stored in this secret room. Although some of the peak-grade medicinal pills were stored in his spatial ring, it looked like he would not be able to keep the medicinal pills that were rank 7 and below. After Nangong Yen found the medicinal pills that he obtained from Xiaoqin, he did not linger. He immediately left the secret room in a flash. 2 seconds after he left, the secret room collapsed with a loud crash. Nangong Yen, who was on the ground, looked at the large hole in the ground with lingering fear. He felt like he was still in a daze. In just a short 5 minutes, his 10 years of hard work had vanished. Chapter 50. Although the commotion in the secret room in the backyard of Linlang Pavilion was huge, the people in the hall did not notice it. After the chaos caused by the first auction item, the annual large-scale auction continued in an orderly manner. Xiaoqin watched helplessly as the auction continued. At this moment, the auction was already halfway through. However, Ao Jiao had not arrived yet. He did not dare to casually make a move. He had already bought a rainbow flame python spirit core. If he were to make a move, he would only have one chance. At this moment, the second climax of the auction was about to begin. When the auctioneer announced that the next item was an inferior-grade spirit stone, the atmosphere in the auction hall immediately flared up. Spirit stones were a special kind of natural treasure. It contained the purest spiritual energy in the world. When a normal cultivator used a small piece of spirit stone, they could immediately raise their cultivation by 1 realm. Aside from that, if it was used in battle, it could immediately replenish one's essence. It was not like the fire-attributed spirit core from before, which could only be used by a certain group of people. It was very effective for cultivators below Martial Saint. The rarity of a spirit stone was comparable to the precious moonstone. In the Qianhu continent, aside from the Great Jin nation which had the largest spirit vein, the other spirit veins were all monopolized by the royal clan or some super sections. The other spirit veins that were given out were all monopolized by the country's royal family and some super sections. Ordinary warriors and some small forces could only obtain spirit stones through other unorthodox means. The auctioneer below introduced loudly, "Everyone please look carefully. This is a genuine inferior-grade spirit stone. I will not say much about the value of a spirit stone. I believe everyone is clear on it. Although it is the lowest grade spirit stone, it is still worth 1 million. Hence, the starting bid is 500,000. Each bid must be no less than 100,000. Just as the auctioneer finished speaking, there were enthusiastic calls for bids. Everyone here knew about treasures. Naturally, they understood the value of this inferior-grade spirit stone. Many of the guests had come specifically for this inferior-grade spirit stone. The price of the spirit stone continued to rise. Only when it reached 1 million did the number of people calling for it slowly decrease. 1 million was actually a threshold. After all, not everyone was like the Tang clan or the Shao clan who would bid 4 or 5 million. Even if other people had so much money, they would have to weigh their own assets before bidding cautiously. Tang Feng, who was in VIP room 11, smiled and said, "It is time for us to make a bid. The clan head specifically instructed us to obtain this inferior-grade spirit stone. Bid 2 million. As soon as Tang Feng made his bid, the auctioneer immediately shouted out his bid excitedly. Guest number 11 has made his move again, calling out a bid of 2 million taels of silver. He is indeed very generous. Is there any higher bid? With regards to the high price of 2 million taels of silver, the people sitting in the hall actually did not have much hope. The people who would be fighting next should be those in the VIP booths on the 4th floor. As expected, someone in room number 3 quickly raised the price to 2,200,000 silver taels. Immediately, the person in room number 4 raised the price to 2,500,000 silver taels. 2,500,000, this is not an auspicious number. The person in room number 4, are you sure you are not going to increase the bid? After the person in room number 4 made his bid, the auctioneer immediately said humorously. The person in room number 4 cursed in his heart. He steeled his heart and raised the price to 3 million silver taels of silver. The auctioneer immediately smiled and announced his bid. Xiaochen was actually very interested in the inferior grade spirit stone. This inferior grade spirit stone was even more beneficial to martial disciples. Using himself as an example, if he used this inferior grade spirit stone, his cultivation realm would immediately rise to superior grade martial disciple. Furthermore, it would not be like other medicinal pills, which would leave behind an unstable foundation or hindering cultivation. This was because the spirit stone contained the pure essence of spiritual energy. After using it, it would immediately rise. The essence in a martial disciple's body only needed to be digested for a day and they would be able to completely stabilize their cultivation realm. There would not be any side effects. Unfortunately, Ao Jiao was not here. Xiaochen did not dare to make any rash decisions. He had already done so once before. Now there were only 2 chances left. He could not miss it. Ao Jiao had already locked onto her target. However, when he saw the inferior grade spirit stone being auctioned off, Xiaochen could not help but feel an itch in his heart. This was a spirit stone that could raise one's cultivation realm. Xiaochen grumbled, I have no idea where Ao Jiao ran off to. She still has not returned. Since you want to buy it, then take it. The sudden voice startled Xiaochen. He turned his head to take a look. Indeed, it was Ao Jiao standing behind him. Xiaochen originally wanted to grumble a little. However, when he saw that her expression was not right, he took back his words. Hey Ao Jiao, are you alright? Why is your complexion so bad? Ao Jiao said, if something happens to you, nothing will happen to me. Do you think my body is the same as yours? You actually know how to look at my complexion. This spirit stone is a good thing for you now. You can buy it. Xiaochen thought about it and agreed. Ao Jiao was a weapon spirit. If her complexion was not right, it could not be explained with human logic. On the other hand, Ao Jiao's words made Xiaochen happy. Can I really buy it? I already bought a 7-colored flame python spirit core earlier. If I buy it, I will only have one more chance to use it with Nangong Yin. It's fine. The thing that I want has not been auctioned yet, Ao Jiao said indifferently. Xiaochen smiled, then I can rest assured. The people in the VIP booths continued to bid for the inferior grade spirit stone. At this moment, the price had already reached 4 million silver taels. In VIP booth 11, Tang Feng calmly drank a mouthful of wine and said, it is already 4 million. It is time for the killing blow. Call out 6 million. Let's see who will bid higher than me. When the attendant behind him heard this, he quickly went to the window and called out Tang Feng's bid. When the auctioneer saw the bid from VIP booth 11 again, the smile on his face bloomed like a flower. He said passionately, VIP booth 11 always surprises us. He bid 6 million silver taels. When the auctioneer called out Tang Feng's bid, the noise in the auction hall stopped. Everyone guessed that this was the highest bid. A normal inferior grade spirit stone would be sold for around 5 million silver taels. Tang Feng had called out an additional 1 million. It was clear that he was determined to win it. The person in VIP booth 4 smacked the table violently. His face was filled with anger, but there was nothing he could do. When the auctioneer saw that no one was bidding, he said, 6 million silver taels. There should be no higher bid. If there is none, I will start the countdown. Hearing the auctioneer's voice, Tang Feng revealed a pleased expression on his handsome face. He smiled and said, it is not a bad thing that I did not obtain the 7-colored flame python spirit core. At least I now have enough capital to pocket this spirit stone. However, after Tang Feng waited for a long time, he still did not hear the sound of the auction being completed. He frowned and could not help but feel suspicious. He said to the attendant behind him, go and see what's going on. Why is the auctioneer not announcing the completion of the auction? That attendant quickly went to the window and looked down. He saw the auctioneer staring blankly at the window of VIP booth 1. His mouth was wide open, but he could not say a word. He had completely lost the qualities that an auctioneer should have. The attendant quickly turned his gaze to the opposite booth. After he saw clearly, he turned around and said in a trembling voice, second young master, it seems like VIP booth 1 has made a bid again. Tang Feng felt his heart skip a beat. The wine cup that he was about to drink stopped. He had a bad premonition. VIP booth 1 bids again. It is still 10 million gold taels. The auctioneer wiped the sweat off his forehead and finally spoke again. Bang! Tang Feng crushed the wine cup in his hand once again. His expression was so gloomy that it made people want to see it. He said coldly, "Are you messing with me? In this Mo city, there is no one who dares to mess with me like this." The crowd below was thrown into chaos once again. If this was the first time someone bid 10 million gold taels, it would be abnormal. However, everyone believed that there was still a possibility that it was not too ridiculous. However, at this moment the same person in the same booth had bid 10 million gold taels again. Even a fool would know that this was not normal. No one would squander their money like this. The situation below was even more chaotic than before. The auctioneer remembered Nangong Yan's instructions and did his best to pacify the crowd. After much difficulty he managed to get the auction to continue. Ao Jiao smiled gently, "You are really too much of a scoundrel. You actually dare to bid 10 million gold taels so casually. Nangong Yan will be angered to death by you." Xiaoqin shrugged his shoulders and said, "I like to be direct. I do not like this kind of bidding war. Furthermore, this is what Nangong Yan promised me. For the things that I fancy, no matter what the final price is, he will pay for it. As for whether he can do it or not, that is his problem. It has nothing to do with me." In the following auctions, because the item that Ao Jiao mentioned did not appear, Xiaoqin did not make a move. The chaos caused by Xiaoqin slowly calmed down. Just as the auction was about to end, Ao Jiao suddenly said, "The next item is a piece of superior grade frost iron. You just have to bid for it." Xiaoqin did not understand. "What do you want that frost iron for?" Ao Jiao said, "Of course I have no use for it. You brought so many moonstones this morning, did you think I did not see it? You idiot, don't tell me you think that moonstones are the only thing needed to forge a spirit weapon?" Xiaoqin's face turned slightly red. "I did not think too much about it. I thought that the other materials could be obtained locally." Ao Jiao said, "There is nothing wrong with obtaining locally. It is just that this frost iron is a rarely seen superior grade frost iron. After I refine it, it can reach the quality of peak grade frost iron. If you only want to forge a profound ranked spirit weapon, you can give up on this frost iron." Hearing that Ao Jiao could raise the quality of this frost iron, Xiaoqin rejoiced in his heart. He knew a thing or two about the rarity and preciousness of peak-grade frost iron. In this world, other than a very small amount of peak-grade frost iron that could be produced naturally, the other peak-grade frost iron could only be obtained by refining superior-grade frost iron. However, this method of refining was something that only a few people in the Qianwu continent could grasp. From what Xiaoqin knew, within the Great Qin nation, only the Heavenly Craft Manor had grasped this method of refining. As such, after he obtained this superior-grade frost iron, along with the large amount of moonstones in his hands, he might be able to forge a heaven-ranked spirit weapon.